Chapter 61. I made it back to the inn and nodded to the man sitting behind the front desk before riding the elevator up to my room. After my usual hot shower, I fell into bed and stared at the ceiling thinking about my day. Maybe the folks at the Terra Guild are a group of good people after all. I wouldn't mind seeing Nessa and Hudson again. I really enjoyed that boss fight and gained a lot more levels, but I think I'll try to take tomorrow off from fighting. It'd be better to focus on crafting my new sword and take a day to relax. The drinks from earlier allowed my mind to wander aimlessly as I fell into a deep sleep. The next morning my mind and body were rejuvenated entirely as I jumped out of bed. After taking the elevator down to the lobby, I saw the innkeeper smile and wave at me as I walked towards the front door. Another day of hunting? Now, today's my day off. Probably a good plan. There weren't any major breaks last night. It seems the surge hit its peak yesterday. There may be some minor activity for another day or two, but we made it through another one. Oh yeah? That's good to hear. He nodded. Well, have a nice relaxing day, sir. I walked out the door and replied. You too, have a great day. The sun just came up over the horizon as I walked following the directions of the old man's sloppily written address. My stomach still feels kind of full from last night, but it's probably a better idea to eat now and not worry about it later. I stopped by a small family-run diner to grab a breakfast sandwich before making my way toward the opposite side of town. The further I walked, the more off-putting the environment felt. The buildings became shorter and more run down. Everyone around wore less well-kept clothing, and the general feel for the town was a bit more rugged. I expected this, though. I am trying to find a black market after all. All of the tall silver buildings were glimmering in the distance. There's a completely different way of life out here. Most of the buildings were made of red bricks, others were old school and made of wood. About a third of the buildings are definitely abandoned because the windows are cracked and some doors are completely smashed in. There's no way anyone lives in those. This part of town is where all the outcasts from the city reside. There's a bar on every corner and they're mostly filled with guys in dark rugged clothing, tattoos, and dirty hands. Just like the old man at the bar last night, these people have had long and tough lives. Some of them look really intimidating and mean, but the majority of people here are laughing and having a good time. It's just a crowd I'm not used to. There's no point in thinking poorly of them. We're all living life with the hand we were dealt day by day. After about 30 minutes of walking in total, I finally found the building that belonged to the address. It's about 3 stories high and made of old bricks. There are 2 big-looking men in black leather jackets standing outside. The structure has no open windows where anyone could see clearly inside. I walked straight up to the front door and talked to the men. Hey, I'm looking for Brianna. The man on the right raised an eyebrow while smirking and stepping forward. Oh yeah? What for? You don't seem to be from around here. I gulped and used inspect. LV. 144. LV. 151. I let out a sigh of relief and stood my ground confidently. These guys may be high level to the usual thugs around here, but they don't scare me. I need a smith. I was told Brianna can craft what I need. They both laughed and turned to mutter a few things to each other before nodding and opening the door. You seem serious enough. Just no funny business, kid. Mess around and you're dead. Understood. I walked through the front door and was pretty surprised at what I saw. There were almost a dozen people working at desks reading books and writing things down on papers. Every desk had piles of swords, potions, rings, bracelets, and magic gear I'd never seen before. It looked like they were filing and keeping stock of large quantities of magic items. The man who let me in spoke up. Go up to the 3rd floor. I'm sure she knows you're coming. Thanks. I walked through the working men and women while eyeing the gear they were sifting through. Some of it looks like some pretty good quality stuff. At the end of the room, there's a spiral staircase that goes both up and down. I walked up it. The 2nd floor wasn't anything like I expected either. There were 2 women on either side of the room working at desks. They seemed to be filing more items and doing paperwork as well, but these workers were in less of a rush than the ones downstairs. At the end of the room, there's an empty desk. A tall, thin man with short black hair stood next to it while reading a book. He looked up at me through his wire-framed glass and gave me a nod of approval as I continued upstairs. Once I finally made it to the top floor of the building, I immediately felt an ominous presence in the room. Feels like I just walked into the lair of a beast. What's wrong with this place? The room's walls are lined from floor to ceiling with books. It's pretty dimly lit, so can't even see the back of the room completely. Hello? Sorry for the intrusion. It's just I dash. Welcome. I've been expecting you. I heard a woman's voice from the back of the room and slow footsteps followed. I'm Jay. Nice to meet you. I used inspect and enemy detection to try and get a better idea of who's in the room with me. LV. 488. My eyes went wide. She's level 488. Who is this woman? Nice to meet you, Jay. Call me Bree. No need to be too formal. She finally walked into the light. I couldn't help but stare. Bree wore tight black latex pants and a fishnet shirt that showed her tight matching latex bra underneath. The black clothing contrasted her smooth olive skin incredibly well. She stood around 190 centimeters tall. That's including her black leather lifted boots. Her eyes were such a deep brown color that they looked completely black. To top it all off, her silky jet black hair fell down and wrapped around the front of her thin waist. I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. And nice to meet you too, Bree. She smiled and pointed one finger in the air. A white light glowed around her hand, then expanded to illuminate the entire room. There's a wooden desk at the back of the room. A black chair stood behind it with red velvet padding and gold edges to make it look like a throne. In front of the desk, there's a large matching red and gold couch as well. It must be for guests like myself. At closer examination in the light, the walls aren't just covered in books. There are all kinds of potions, stones, and weapons up on racks. I've never seen most of these magic items before. Please, once you're done admiring my collection, have a seat. I believe we have some business to discuss. Bree smiled and looked me directly in the eyes as she turned to walk back to her desk. I shook myself from my daydream and followed her. She sat in her throne with both arms on her desk, looking straight ahead as I made myself comfortable on the couch. It's time to get straight to the point. I would like to have a sword crafted. Apparently you're the woman for the job. Yes, it seems I am. Let me see what materials you've brought in. I paused for a moment. My items are in my storage system. She sensed my hesitation and spoke up. Anything you show me during our meeting will never leave this room. I promise. Our word is all we have in this line of business, trust me. I nodded and stood up to take out the Minotaur horn from my item storage. She didn't bat an eye as I placed it on the desk. I have an element stone too. How can I transfer that to you safely? Bree took out a clear crystal tray about the size of my hand from a drawer in her desk. It began to hum and glow white. I gulped and took out the stone from my storage system. It burned my hand horribly as I transferred it to the tray. Flames flew everywhere. I've never taken this thing out in a small room like this before. It felt horribly dangerous, but Bree just grinned a little. I used self-regenerate to heal my hand behind my back. The second I placed the stone on the tray, it stopped producing flames. It just sat there. The stone looked like a red mana crystal. I stared at it curiously and Bree spoke up. These are some high-grade items, not bad. I can only imagine where you got them. She felt the Minotaur's horn all over and began examining the element stone closely as well. About 30 seconds later, she looked up at me. Okay, I'll make you a sword. It'll take me a few hours at most. I grinned ear to ear. Then Bree spoke up again. Now let's talk about cost. Sure. How much will this blade run me? She looked at me with a serious stare. To get started, I'll need 8 ounces of your blood and 10 gold coins. That smile left my face immediately and I got up to my feet. Hey, wait a minute. Since when is blood a payment type? What dash? She rolled her eyes and chuckled. Sit down. The blood isn't part of the payment. I need to pair the element stone with the sword user. Without a blood bond, the stone will always burn you when you use it. I sat down and nodded slowly. A blood bond? Okay, that makes more sense. I didn't know you had to do that. About that 10 gold. I don't have enough on me. Just, give me a few days I can G-dash. No worries, you don't have to pay in gold. I looked at her curiously. We stared at each other in silence for a moment until she spoke up again. I have another way for you to pay me. Bree looked me up and down and a grin slowly formed across her face. What's that? What do you mean? She pointed to the spiral staircase at the back of the room, then looked me in the eyes and pointed down. Survive one fight in the Rumble Dome. I raised an eyebrow. The what? Her grin grew even bigger. It's an underground cage fighting league. If you win one fight, the sword is yours free of charge. This isn't exactly what I expected I'd be getting myself into on my day off. I smirked and began to tingle with excitement. Deal. Chapter 62. Bree pointed at the floor and that same white light started to glow all around her hand. With a swift motion, she threw the orb of light at the floor. It sank right through and disappeared out of sight. She looked up at me and spoke. My assistant will come up here shortly. Shall we begin? Begin now? I thought I had to win a match for you to make the sword. She grinned. Well, you need a sword to fight with, don't you? I scratched my head awkwardly. I do, you're right. You'll fight when I finish the blade. I don't see element stones of this grade very often. If I'm going to make a sword of this caliber, I'd at least like to have some advertising done for my services. You better put on a good show. I thought to myself for a moment. That's why she offered me this option. She wants everyone watching the fight to know she made this sword. Ugh, business people or ya always scheming up something. Makes sense, I Jew-dash. Knock, knock, knock. The tall, pale man in glasses from the second floor knocked politely at the top of the spiral staircase. Ms. Brianna, I am at your service. He bowed and Bree spoke up. One moment, Bernard. He nodded and Bree turned back to me. Put out your arm. I need to extract a little blood. She pulled out a small glass jar with a cork in the top from her desk along with a shiny dagger. My eyes opened wide. Hey, there has to be a safer way to do this. You don't have a needle or something? She smirked. What? You scared? And no, it's just dash. Good. Don't worry about it. I'll heal you up before you leave. I gulped and put my left arm out in front of her. Bree ripped the cork out of the bottle with her teeth and looked me in the eyes before sizing up my arm. Without hesitation, she sliced open a vein in my forearm and placed the jar directly on the open area. Thick red liquid spurted out instantly. Her expression didn't change one bit as the bottle filled up to the brim. She screwed the cork back on and threw the jar of fresh blood up and down in her hand with a slight grin. I just watched her mutilate me in disbelief. Hey, I'm still bleeding here. My blood is flowing much slower than it started, but it was still coming out and making a mess all over the floor. Bree's hand lit up with a green light and she placed it over my sliced-up arm. I felt a warm sensation as the skin grew back together and the gash completely disappeared. Fixed. It'd probably be better to not ask any stupid questions right now. But that's 2 skills she's used so far. Just making a mental note. I nodded. She spoke up again. Give me a little while. I'll have your sword ready for the fight scheduled around noon. Let me see your status. We have to make sure you're paired up in the right level class. I froze. I am level 211. There's no need to show my status. She shook her head. It's either you show it to me or the fight commissioner. I know you have something going on. You come here with a mutant minotaur horn and an element stone that's nearly B-class in purity grade. You're not an ordinary hunter. I know that for sure. I gulped and scanned the room. Just show me. What can I do? Run to the association and tell them your secret? I'm the last person you should be worried about showing. As I said before, this is a confidential meeting. Nothing leaves this room, you have my word. I took a death breath in and out. She has a good point. Who would she even tell? Could only ruin her confidentiality reputation. I opened my status and turned it towards her. Bree's eyes lit up. She stared for over 10 seconds straight before I got anxious and closed my window. Those aren't purchased skills, are they? Not even country leaders have enough money to get skills like that. I looked at her in confusion again. You can buy skills? She grinned and eyed me up and down. I like you. I hope you don't die in the ring today. Hey, that doesn't answer my question. Bree turned back to her desk and motioned for me to leave. Follow Bernard downstairs. He'll get you ready for your fight. Ask him whatever you'd like to know. I'm busy. She began writing a few things down on a notepad, and the thin man walked over to me slowly. Nice to formally meet you, sir. I'll be taking care of you for the time being. Please follow me. Hey. Bree. Please follow me. Ms. Brianna is busy working at the moment. The light in the room started to fade back to darkness as Bernard escorted me to the spiral stairs. That meeting ended so abruptly, I don't even know what to think. I'm getting the sword made at least. I guess it went well. Hey, Bernard. What was she saying earlier? Do people buy skills? And are they really that expensive? He nodded as we made our way down the stairs. Of course, it's possible. Nobles have often used entire generational savings to purchase a skill for a prodigy in the family. I looked at him curiously. Why are they so much? Where can you get them? Well, the reason skills are valued so high is that most people are just stuck with the ones they're born with. The option to add on extra skills is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity even for the elite class. Every year or two, a skill stone shows up in the capital auction. The amount of money people bid is preposterous, but when you have that kind of money and power, it's the only thing worth buying. I understand why they all do it. Skill stones? I've never even heard of them. Where do they come from? As I said, every year or two one shows up in the capital auction. My guess is they're found deep in the labyrinth. There's never been a report of skill stones being found in normal dungeons. If there were, everyone would flock to it and hunt that dungeon dry. I nodded and thought to myself quietly as we continued to walk down the stairs. We made it to the street-level floor and began walking further down. After another 10 or so of walking, I started to hear voices and people walking around. It sounds like there are a lot of them. We made it to level ground where I found myself with Bernard in a stone cellar consisting of a small wooden stool, a few large crates, and a heavy-looking metal door. He opened the door slowly and I couldn't believe my eyes. It's an open area about 30 wide and 5 of ceiling height that seems to go on forever. The floors and walls are made of old stone, and the wide hall is lit up with torches and various magic items. Some lights are white, others are yellow, and some are orange. It isn't quite congruent, but it works well enough. There's a full underground marketplace beneath this town. It feels like the city market, but much dirtier, and the people are much tougher looking. It's where all the outlaws buy and sell illegal or stolen goods. Makeshift merchants stands line the open hall selling swords, daggers, and shields. Others are cooking delicious-smelling food and pouring drinks. Mana crystals are being bought and sold along with potions and all kinds of common magic items. Bernard began to walk through the market. Come on, don't you want to purchase some extra equipment before your fight? I'm sure you'll find something you like here. I shook myself out of my daydream state. I'd been staring at the crowds of people going about their day for a little too long. Yes, I'm coming right away. I followed Bernard deeper into the underground market. At closer examination, most of the magic items were pretty poor quality. Mostly E-class mana crystals and small potions that I assume skill users are making by themselves down here. The food definitely smelled good though, it's pretty hard to mess that up. Bernard kept walking quickly down the center of the pathway. I spoke up. Hey, are we going anywhere in particular? None of this gear looks any good. To be honest, I'd rather just go to the normal market. He replied without turning back to me. Just a little further. I know the perfect shop. After another 3 minutes or so of walking, Bernard finally stopped and turned to a small merchant stand. It looked like every other stand to me. Standard potions, a variety of E-class swords, and a few piles of mana crystals. Once we arrived, a middle-aged merchant looked up and smiled. Bernard, what brings you down here today? He smiled back. Morning, Henry. Ms. Brianna has a new toy she wants to see fight in the Rumble Dome. I'm here to make sure he doesn't break before she's had her fun. The sword is being crafted as we speak, but he has nothing else. Do you have anything new in stock that's worth looking at? Speed or defense items will suit him best right now, I think. I turned to him abruptly. Hey, Breeze toy? What are you talking about? Both the men laughed and ignored my comment. Henry spoke up. Sure. There were a few unregistered dungeon pop-ups yesterday at the peak of the surge. This is what we managed to salvage. He dug through an item box and pulled out a ton of shields, rings, and potions. I looked at all of it, but nothing really caught my eye. They're all just normal defense or magic-boosting items. Not too special. Oh right, these just came in too. A pair of beauties. When's the last time you saw a 60% boost? He pulled out a pair of jet black combat boots. They looked like they were made of cloth, but looked very sturdy at the same time. I interjected.
A 60% stat boost?
In what? He grinned. Speed. Rumor is these came from an unregistered elf dungeon about 20 kilometers south of the capital. The dungeon broke already. These may be a one-of-a-kind item around here. I eyed the boots curiously. They look really cool, but also have a 60% speed stat boost. That would be an incredible addition to my fighting ability. As far as I can remember, I've never seen speed-boosting items before. I need this pair of boots. How much? 3 gold and they're yours. I laughed. It's not a horrible price, but I'd rather get them for much lower. It's time to haggle. Yeah, right. I'll give you 1 gold. You really want to do this, kid? 2 gold, 75 silver final offer. Nope, way too much. Not interested. I turned away with a smirk on my face. The merchant offered me another deal almost immediately. 2 gold, 50 silver. That's my real final offer. What do you say? Sorry, too much. Who carries around that kind of cash? 1 gold, that's all I can do. He turned to Bernard. Who is this kid anyways? Why'd you bring me a lowballer today of all days? He ginned. Looks like you're getting a taste of your own medicine, Henry. Bernard looked at both of us. Meet at 2 gold. It's a good deal for both of you. Henry and I looked at each other for a moment, then nodded and shook hands. Deal. Deal. I placed a gold coin on the table and counted out 100 silver before trying on the boots. The second I slipped them on, they magically tightened to fit my feet. I felt a burst of energy flow through my legs and up into my body. It felt just like handling a new sword with a strength boost, but even better somehow. Bernard looked me up and down, then turned to the merchant. They look good. Appreciate it, Henry. Have a good rest of your day. You too. He smiled at us both, but gave me a side eye as we walked further away. I think my haggling earlier turned him off of me a bit. Bernard spoke up. All right, follow me. We have one more thing to do. I turned to follow him even deeper into the underground market. Chapter 63. The underground market seemed to go on forever. We walked for about 20 more minutes. Every new merchant stand looked the same to me. Every 100 m or so there were doors and hallways that lead off of the main path, but they all either lead up to the surface or were private property. Bernard finally stopped in front of another small merchant shop and smiled at an old bald man that was half asleep sitting on a small wooden crate. Morning, Tom. The old merchant shook his head and stood to his feet immediately in a startled fashion. Oh, it's you. Good morning to you too, Bernard. How can I help you? Have any extra lives in stock? The kid needs at least a D grade for his fight today in the Rumble Dome. The old man grinned. I just looked at them both in confusion for a few seconds and spoke up. An extra life? What do you mean by that? They both ignored my question. The old merchant started to dig through a box full of junk items for a bit longer than I had the patience for. I became antsy and started looking around his small shop, examining random items that I had no intention of buying. Most of the stuff in here is just old E-class potions and used gear. Honestly, every shop looks like this down here. I guess you really have to get to know your sellers to find the good stuff. Finally, Tom pulled a small cube-shaped piece of metal with a long black string tied around it from under his pile of scrap items. Here she is. It's probably got a day or two left on it. A mid-level D grade, I reckon. You know, I make 'em cheap, but it'll definitely save your life in a pinch. 3 silver and it's yours. Bernard nodded and turned to me. You heard him, 3 silver. I squinted my eyes and looked at the cube of metal on the end of a ragged string. 3 silver for what? A good luck charm? What am I even buying here? Bernard rolled his eyes. Just buy it. I'll explain on the way back. I'm really getting pushed around here. It's starting to get annoying. Fine. I handed the old merchant 3 silver coins, and he took them while handing me the odd magic item. Pleasure doing business with ya. Try it on, kid. I let the metal cube sit in my hand for a few seconds. A very light hum came off the item. The only reason I even noticed is because of the slight vibrations it gave off in my hand. Without much thought, I tied the cube around my neck with the long black sting and let it hang next to my Cyclops pendant. I didn't feel any change in my abilities. Bernard nodded at me. Great. I think that'll be enough for now. You're not much of a shield user, are you? I looked at him in disgust. Sure, it might help me out a lot in close combat battles, but it would slow me down a lot. Speed is my #1 stat that I take advantage of. Plus, just picturing myself with a shield makes me laugh. None of the main heroes in comics use a shield. It may be a pretty childish thought, but I think going into battle without a shield looks so much cooler. Nope, you're right. Definitely not a shield user. He sighed. What a shame. Well, I hope luck favors you today. We're heading back. I followed him close behind while we walked back the way we came. Hey, so what did I just buy anyways? You said you were going to explain. Bernard didn't turn around, but he replied. It's a pretty unique item, actually. Tom has an interesting skill that lets him merge potions with certain magic metals. This one in particular, he coined as an extra life. He said it's around middle D grade, so it'll add an extra 500 or so HP to your stats temporarily. I raised an eyebrow. Really? He said it lasts a few days. Couldn't I just get a ton of these and wear them whenever the old one wears out? Yes and no. It's called an extra life because they're mostly used for life or death situations. Yes, it's a 500 HP stat boost, but that just means it'll absorb the next 500 HP worth of damage you take on. Once it has taken in all the damage it can, the necklace will break and you'll be on your own. In a Rumble Dome match, potions aren't allowed, so this will just give you an extra edge in HP. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, it does. I guess for 3 silver you can't really go wrong. Although I was a bit annoyed at Bernard earlier, this made up for it. A one-time use item like this could be the difference between life and death in a one-on-one fight. Wait a minute. That reminds me. Hey, Bernard. How do you win one of these cage fights? It's not a straight-up death match, is it? He turned and grinned. The winner is decided when their opponent is either knocked out cold, falls asleep, admits defeat, or is killed. Okay, that's, good to know. So, anything goes in these matches. Yep, anything goes. There's no dirty trick in the book that can't be used. All magic items and gear are allowed except HP and MP potions, which would just make matches never-ending. The only other rule that's set in stone is the level class system. You'll be fighting in the U250, or better known as the under 250 class. This ensures a more fair fight. Okay, good to know. Thanks for the help today. Of course, if it's Bree's wish, then it's my command. We continued to walk back toward the building we came from. I watched the merchants and outcasts buy and sell their gear all around me. It really made me wonder what other treasures I might find down here if I search for long enough. All right, here we are. Bernard opened the heavy metal door and we started to make our way back upstairs. We've been underground for a little over an hour. I spoke up. Could the sword really be done already? He nodded while we approached the first floor. Probably yes, but we will not enter the office until I'm given the signal. Please follow me. I'll entertain you on the second floor while we wait. Oh, okay. Once we climbed the staircase to the second floor, I noticed the 2 women working on either side of the room again. I didn't get a close look at them before. They're both plugging away at some busy work in silence. Bernard stepped forward into the room, motioning for me to follow. These are my assistants. Please introduce yourself. They looked up from their seats and both stared me in the eyes. I couldn't tell them apart at first glance. They both wore light blue dresses, had matching blue eyes, tied up their bright blonde hair in a bun, and stood around 160 centimeters. "Nice to meet you, I'm Jay." The two of them both got out of their seats and simultaneously bowed while replying. "Nice to meet you, I'm Chloe." "Nice to meet you, I'm Zoe." I blinked twice and rubbed my eyes, then looked at them both again. They smiled and bobbed their heads back and forth before going straight back to work in unison. Bernard walked over to his desk and offered me a seat in a flimsy-looking wooden chair he must use for guests. "They're great, aren't they?" I looked at him with a bit of concern. Yeah, I bet they are." Bernard sat down and pulled out a book from the small pile on his desk. "It shouldn't be too long now. Please pick any book you'd like in the meantime." He crossed his legs and adjusted his glasses before opening the book to where he'd left off previously. I began to sift through the pile to see if there'd be anything worth reading. They're all old science and math books. These look like they were written before the Dungeons even showed up over 80 years ago. I guess he enjoys the classic fundamentals. I, for one, get bored out of my mind reading books like this. I kept awkwardly shuffling through the books and reading the back covers for a solid 20 minutes. I couldn't find a single fantasy or even a history book of some kind to cure my boredom for the time being. I just decided to give up and stare at the ceiling. After just 5 minutes of counting the specks of dirt, I saw an orb of white light sink through the solid floor above me. "Looks like I've been saved by the bell." Bernard looked up from his reading. "That's our cue. Ms. Brianna is ready for us." I grinned with excitement. Finally, I get to see my finished sword. Chapter 64. Bernard walked me up the stairway back to Bree's room, or better yet, her lair. "How was your shopping trip? Find anything good?" She walked towards us as I stepped into her office. Bernard stayed back and let me approach. "Yeah, I got a few things." I lifted the new necklace off my chest while kicking up my right foot to show the new boots. Bree nodded and walked towards her desk. A large black rectangular box rested in the middle of it. She glanced over at me, then back to the box. "Come open it. I think you're going to be happily surprised." A mischievous grin appeared on her face. I didn't care. I walked over to the case with a smirk of my own. I stood over the box with both hands hovering over either side. Bree stepped back and I gulped to calm my nerves. The box hummed quietly. It must be some sort of containment item. Click. I grabbed both sides of the box and opened it in one swift movement for a grand reveal. The room felt different the moment my eyes met the blade. It's almost like it has a mind of its own and it just found its new owner. I can't shake the feeling it's watching me. It's a long sword with a very similar shape that I'm used to, but it's jet black and glimmers blood red depending on how you look at it in the light. I can already tell it's a one-of-a-kind piece. I reach towards the handle and that feeling of being watched becomes stronger and stronger. I tighten my face and got into a sturdy stance. It only feels natural. I grabbed the sword and hold it high up in the air. It began to glow a dim crimson shade the moment I grasped it, but the color returned to black a few seconds later. The blade's handle feels warm to the touch. Initially, it felt like there was foreign energy flowing into my body, but now it feels very natural, like the energy belongs to me. There's a significant strength stat boost. I feel incredible. I looked the sword up and down as I brought it back down to my side. The feeling of being watched is totally gone now. I didn't just imagine it out of excitement, did I? Next, I check my status. Name Jay Soju. Level 211. HP 1060/1060 plus 500/500.
Mepe. 1060.
Strength 512 plus 384. Speed 606 plus 364. Agility 630. Defense 451 plus 180. Mental strength 512 plus 102 plus 128. Skills: absorption, swordsmanship, combat magic, fire summoning, inspect, special grade, enemy detection, body hardening, Special Grade, Self-Regeneration, Spatial Magic, Item Storage, Plunder, Telekinesis, Items Equipped, Golden Wolf Ring, plus 20% Mental Strength, Cyclops Eye Pendant, plus 40% Defense, Dark Elf Boots, plus 60% Speed, Extra Life, bonus 500 HP, the Flame Emperor's Sword, Fire Aspect, plus 75% Strength, plus 25% Mental Strength. The Flame Emperor's Sword? I gripped the handle tighter and smirked. Bree walked towards me. I thought you'd like the name. I came up with it myself. I think you have great potential. I turned to face her and bowed politely. Thanks. When's the fight? Bree smirked. The next match is in a little under an hour. I put your name on the roster and registered you in the U250 League. I'm your sponsor, so don't die out there. It'll make me look bad. Hey, you know I wasn't planning on it. That's a special sword. I don't think I've made one quite like it. It'll definitely have a wild spirit in the heat battle. It'll what? She grinned and turned towards the door. I think it's better if you find out on your own. Let's head off to the Rumble Dome. I'd like to watch your match. Yes, Ms. Brianna. Leave it to me. With a nod, he walked downstairs and left Bree and me standing alone in her office. Bree put her finger up in the air and the light in the room started to slowly disappear as she walked toward the stairs. I took one last good look at my sword and put it into my item box so it'd be accessible without using my storage skill. I followed her all the way down to the cellar and through the heavy metal door. This way, it shouldn't take too long. Again, I feel like I'm being dragged around. But I signed up for this. There's no backing out now. Plus, I'm itching to try out this new sword. Preferably on some monsters, but people will have to do for the time being. With my boosted stats and new items, there's no way anyone could be even close to my league. Right? We walked through the underground market in silence for a little under half an hour until finally Bree spoke up. This is it. She stopped and turned to a normal-looking metal door. It seemed like all the other ones, but a few people were standing outside it waiting in line. We did the same. After another 5 minutes, the line got to us and we waited in front of the metal door. A small area near the keyhole opened up and a voice came out. What's the password? Bree rolled her eyes. It's Ms. Brianna. I don't need a password. I could hear the locks on the doors clicking and turning rapidly and the door swung open. Why yes ma'am. Welcome back to the Rumble Dome. Please find a seat in any High Rollers booth you'd like. Bree grinned and nodded at the short skinny man behind the door and she motioned for me to follow her in. My eyes opened wide as we walked forward into the underground room. It had high ceilings that went up about 20 m. This must be connected to a warehouse or something on the surface and they just hollowed the building leaving a frame above ground. The room itself is about 50 m by 50 m wide and long. There are poorly made metal bleachers that go up about 5 m and VIP-looking booths on top of each of them. Most of the crowd is on the ground. If I had to guess, there are about 150 people packed into this room screaming and shouting at the spectacle in the center of the room. I've never seen anything like it. Now I understand why it's called the Rumble Dome. There's a circular white flooring that is about 15 m in diameter in the center of the room. The entire floor is surrounded by a fence-like material that encapsulates the fight pit in a dome-looking structure. The metal is covered in wires and powered by magical items to protect the audience from what happens within. It's a makeshift mana shield. It's continuously shaking and forcing the ground rumble all around it. What a sight to see. This is the Rumble Dome. Bree spoke up. Enough staring, let's get up close. We have enough time to watch one fight before yours. I nodded and walked forward with her. We weaved through the crowd of cheering fans drunk off the excitement of violence. Once we got close to the dome, the rumbling was pretty intense. It's really loud, but people here don't seem to mind at all. In the arena right now, there were two fighters in the middle of battle. There's a short blonde man with a scar across his eye holding two daggers and zipping around the circle attempting to land hits on his opponent. The opponent seems to be a tank of some sort. He's a heavier set man, so he can't match the speed of his opponent. All he's doing is positioning himself behind his shield and blocking every attack that comes his way. The crowd seems to love it. It's interesting, but these are clearly some lower-level D-class fighters, maybe even high E-class with decent gear. I can follow their movements very easily. Still, it'll be entertaining to watch. I stood there watching the match ensue with my arms crossed while Bree patiently watched as well. After 3 more minutes of pointless running around, the dagger user started slowing down. He must have used up a lot of his MP or just regular endurance. The tank made his move. With a loud yell, he jumped out from behind his shield while the dagger user attacked and faced him head-on. The tank raised his right hand and green vines sprouted out. He glowed bright green and let out a considerable amount of mana. It looks like this is his finishing move. He'd been conserving MP and waiting to use it. Moments later, the vines wrapped tight around the exhausted dagger user, and he yelled out in agony as they slowly squeezed the life out of him. "That's it. I forfeit. I forfeit. You win." The tank dropped him to the ground and he gasped for a breath. The tank raised both hands in the air and celebrated. Half the crowd cheered and went wild. The other half booed and threw trash at the cage where the dagger user lay on the ground. As the tank pumped his hands in the air and retrieved his sword, I heard a loud voice echo from above. The crowd settled down. "That's it for our U150 match today. Our winner by forfeit is Tanner Mason. Congratulations." 2 workers opened up the cage. Tanner bowed and kicked the kneeling dagger user on his way out. The crowd went wild again. They're ruthless. Our next match will start up in about 10 minutes. Get ready, folks. We have 2 new U250 fighters that will be competing to get a crack at our reigning champion for the main event. You're not going to want to miss this one. Please make sure to place your bets before the fight begins. I spun around to look at Bree. She just happily grinned at me. "Come on, this way." She motioned for me to follow her. "Hey, what's this about? I only need to win 1 fight, right? What's all this about a main event?" Bree kept walking and didn't turn around. "Correct. Forfeit your second match if you wish. You have to win your first one before we can talk about that, though." "Fine." I followed her to the opening in the cage and watched an amateur medic carry the dagger user out of the cage. A worker approached us. "Welcome, Ms. Brianna. We haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see you back with a new fighter. You'd like to use the name listed here?" He turned a paper to her and she nodded. I tried to get a look, but he folded it in half and faced me. "All right, please take out all the necessary items you'll need for this match. HP and MP potions are prohibited. Anything else goes. I'm gonna have to ask you to take that item box off your waist. Items concealing potential banned items are also prohibited. This is more of a common sense ruling." I nodded and took my sword out of my item box. It didn't glow red this time, the blade just felt normal. I scratched my head for a moment, then untied the pouch and handed it to Bree. Could you hold this for me?" "Sure. But I want you to wear this." Seemingly from out of nowhere, Bree handed me a dark black mask. There are red marks over the eyes that appear to be flames and small horns that come off the top. It's almost like a demon's face. I guess it looks cool. But, what is this? "Why?" She grinned. "It's just a good luck charm. You might not want any more people to see your face down here, especially while you fight." "Wouldn't you say so?" I gulped and looked around. She's right. Not a bad idea. I took the mask and placed it on my face. It magically fit like a glove. There aren't any holes in it, but I can see and breathe fine. I didn't feel any different, and there's no change in my status. "Thanks. Appreciate it." "No problem. Best of luck out there. Again, remember to not die. I'll look bad." With a smile, Bree turned and made her way to the back of the room into one of the VIP high roller seats. I grinned and rolled my eyes. The worker spoke up and pointed inside the ring. "All right, kid. Get to the back corner. Your opponent should be here shortly." I nodded and walked to the back of the ring as he asked. The crowd began to chatter. I stood there in all black head to toe with a demon mask and holding a jet black sword. I hope I look cool. This isn't overdoing it, right? Less than a minute later, a tall man with long flowing white hair approached the cage door. He wore lightweight silver armor from his shoes up to his neck. His face carried a blank expression as he looked at me with crystal-clear blue eyes. His skin is pale white and he glides gracefully as he walks. What kind of outcast is this? I was expecting a grunt with a club, not some noble knight. He talked to the worker and pulled a long silver sword from an item box before nodding and entering the ring. The door shut behind him and we stared at each other as the metal cage rumbled the ground below. A loud voice echoed above us. "Thank you all for waiting. Our first U250 fight of the day is about to get started. Please welcome our two brand new fighters." The crowd went wild. I looked around to see all eyes on me. It's nerve-wracking but also exhilarating. I'd like to introduce our first fighter, the proud 11th son of our very own Underground Trade Commissioner, Mr. Salas. 21 years old, 186 centimeters tall, and 93 kilograms. His overall fight record in the Rumble Dome is 0 wins, 0 losses, and 0 ties. It's all going to change today. Let's hear it for Xavier Salas. He let out a thin smile and waved to the crowd as they clapped and cheered. Next, we have a new recruit being sponsored by the one and only Ms. Brianna. It feels like a lifetime ago since she dominated the Rumble Dome herself. We can't forget a legend. The crowd jumped and screamed, erupting into madness. I looked around in awe. I had no idea she was such a big deal. Could this new recruit continue her legacy? Only time will tell. Coming in at 20 years old, 181 centimeters, and weighing 84 kilograms. With an overall fight record in the Rumble Dome of 0 wins, 0 losses, and 0 ties. Please welcome the Flame Emperor. I froze. She really submitted my name as the Flame Emperor. I guess I have to go with it now. I slowly raised my sword up into the air and let my MP flow through it. It glowed light red as I activated my fire magic. A massive eruption of flames ignited around the blade as I pointed it to the ceiling. The building shook and ear-piercing cheers came from the audience. The crowd went absolutely wild. Chapter 65. Xavier stared me down with a cold look as I continued to shoot flames high up into the air through my sword. The announcer's voice rang out again. I brought my sword down and let the flames go out slowly as I listened. Everybody knows the rules. There is no time limit in the ring. All tricks, magic items, and abilities are allowed. The winner will be decided by knockout, forfeit, or death. We will begin at the sound of the bell. I brought my sword forward and pointed it at Xavier. He did the same with his own. The cage around us rumbled and the crowd whispered and pointed. Ding! The sound of a bell rang and cheers came out from the crowd. The white-haired swordsman scanned the arena for movements, but I was doing exactly the same. Each of us was waiting patiently for the other to make the first move and show weakness. I used Inspect. LV. 217. He sprinted to the left a split second after I activated my skill. Almost like he could sense it. I reacted by jumping backward and to the right, watching his movements. Xavier is pretty quick on his feet, but I definitely have him beat in that department with these new boots. It's his eyes I'm more worried about. Every time I take a step in any direction or move my sword the slightest bit, he tracks it like a hawk. We basically ran around in a full circle for a few seconds as we examined each other's body movements. This is getting boring. I gripped my blade tight and ignited it back into a fiery display. I plant my right foot and lunge in to begin an attack. Still expressionless, Xavier plants his foot and turns to face me with his sword by his side. I lift my blade high in the air and aim it directly at his wide-open body in front of me. Clang scrapey asterisk asterisk thud asterisk. The moment I brought my blade down, Xavier gracefully lifted his own sword and used my momentum to block my attack, but also curving his blade around my own to add speed to the swing. I was sent flying forward into the cage behind him. As a defense mechanism, I erupted into flames to cover my full body the moment I lost balance. The exact moment I did, Xavier jumped backward to avoid being burned. I smashed into the side of the cage but didn't take on any real damage. I got to my feet and let my body's flames go out, but keeping them lit around my sword as I pointed it at the white-haired knight. He has an interesting fighting style. From what I see so far, Xavier isn't exceptionally fast or strong. He almost entirely relies on figuring out how to use his opponent's strengths against them. Probably, I'll have to do some more testing. The crowd is oohing and awing, trying to figure out which of us is their new favorite. I'm not too worried about pleasing the crowd. Winning the fight is my only concern. I ran back in with a very similar attack. It produced a very similar outcome though. Again, my attack was easily countered and the momentum of my brute-like swing was used against me. Great. Looks like I'll have to use my brain a little bit at least. We squared up on opposite sides of the ring, getting ready for our third clash. I initiated the charge and sprinted forward with my flaming blade in hand. The moment we came within striking distance, I let go of my sword and activated telekinesis. The blade shot off the left as I sprinted to the right, cornering the swordsman on both sides. His eyes finally changed. Those dull, never-changing focused eyes opened wide. But it wasn't at the moment I expected. They opened moments before the sword left my hand, like he knew it was coming. Clang. With an elegant twist, he blocked my blade while keeping an eye on me. I motioned to bring my sword back and ran towards him. It flew in my direction and Xavier readied his own blade to counter. Moments before we collided, I caught my sword and began to swing it down at his head. He positioned to counter. At the last second, I twisted my own body to prevent our blades from colliding. There's just one issue. Xavier's blade is pointed straight at my stomach, and mine is pointed way off to the right side of his body. Clang. The white-haired knight's eyes opened even wider than before as a thick layer of black crystals covered my abdomen, blocking his sword's impact. I twisted my body again and landed a fiery slash on the side of Xavier's right leg through a gap in the lightweight armor. We both jumped backward after this exchange, and I heard him let out a cry of pain. His stance and movements remained the same, but his eyes had changed. The cool and calculated stare from before is nothing like it used to be. Now there's fear in those eyes. I heard him speak up for the first time in a deep yet young-sounding voice. How do you have so many skills? It's impossible. I pointed my sword at him, and it began to glow light red for a few seconds, then returned back to black. I could feel it watching for a moment. Xavier seemed to notice it too. His eyes opened even wider as he held out his own sword. I grinned and ran forward, igniting my blade. It's now or never. The best time to attack a genius is when he isn't right in the head. I covered my full body in flames and ran in like a charging bull. Xavier went fully offensive and stabbed me in the chest, then again in the neck. I hardened the areas of impact milliseconds before every attack. He must have been professionally trained. These attacks would have definitely been fatal without my skill. Such precision, it's almost scary. In the swordsman's angry confusion, I managed to land a hit of my own deep into the left side of his upper abdomen through another small gap in his armor. We jumped backward after this exchange, and he burst into flames. I left a good amount of excess fire residue behind. He burned bright red. The crowd roared and the arena shook even more. I grinned and pointed my sword toward him. He gritted his teeth and scowled while pointing his blade back at me. Again, my blade glowed a faint red color, then faded back to black. Xavier ran straight at me. He's frustrated, injured, and tired. If I didn't have so many wild cards up my sleeve, he could easily beat an opponent much stronger than himself. Too bad he was paired with me today. We ran at each other with our swords held out in front of us. Mine began to pulse red again as we ran forward. I felt an incredible surge of energy flow through me and erupted into dark red flames. Xavier instinctively put his sword up to block my attack like all the others, but it did not go quite the same as it had before. I charged forward and his shining silver sword clashed against my fiery, glowing crimson blade. Clang crack asterisk. Xavier attempted to maneuver my blade to the side like he always had, but there was much more force behind my blow this time. No matter the technique, not much could be done against this raw power. My blade collided with his, instantaneously shattering it into pieces. I followed through and cut his chest plate clean in half, throwing the white-haired knight flying back against the cage wall. The crowd erupted into even more cheers, and some threw food and trash up into the air. They were eating up the savagery taking place before their eyes. Xavier sat against the cage covered in flame residue and a bloody gash across his chest, attempting to get up to his feet. He looked me in the eyes. I pointed my glowing sword directly at him with a serious look on my face. He yelled, "That's it. You win. I forfeit." I nodded slowly and started to turn away. Then, my sword glowed even brighter. I could feel a presence seeping out of it into myself, calling for me to finish the battle. It felt like a primal urge to hunt and kill the prey in front of me. I ignited into a dark ball of fire and drove the sword into his chest, letting out an explosion of flames. "Level up!" A crowd roared even louder. It was all over before I realized what happened. It was like I was in a trance. There you have it, folks. Never a dull moment in the Rumble Dome. Our U250 winner today is the one and only Flame Emperor. I shook myself out of an adrenaline-induced daze to look around and see the crowd making a horrible mess outside the cage and chanting in unison. "We want Theodore. We want Theodore. We want Theodore." They kept saying this over and over as I looked around the ring to understand what exactly just happened. I looked down at my feet and saw a blue light hovering over a few pieces of armor in a pile of ash. Use absorption. Skill. Appraisal. Special grade. Yes. No. I gulped and chose yes while looking around nervously. The announcer's voice rang out again. "It looks like the crowd is ready for another fight. We will give it to you shortly. Please take your seats and place your bets. Our new prospect, the Flame Emperor, will be facing off against our proud U250 defending champion Theodore the Destroyer. Please allow our fighters to rest and heal up. The main event will begin in half an hour. We will have a quick performance in the meantime." The lights began to dim and a few workers came into the area to escort me out. I nodded and followed them out. Another team of workers disposed of the remains in the ring. One of them spoke to me as we stepped out of the cage. "Hey, great show, but don't you think you overdid it a bit? That was the trade commissioner's son, you know." I ignored what he said and scanned the crowd until I finally saw Bree slowly walking toward me through an ocean of screaming fans. She had a huge grin across her face. "Good fight, exactly as I hoped for. Come with me. Let's get you healed up for the main event." She put her arm around my shoulder and we started walking up to the VIP booth. Dancers in provocative clothing piled into the dome and started entertaining the audience. I'm still in a bit of shock. The crowd parted all around us as we walked. I'm still holding the sword that killed a man moments ago with, I understand their concern. We walked up the bleachers and into a small private room with a window to view the show. I rested my sword up against the wall, sat down in a padded chair, and took off my mask. I took a long deep breath in and out, looked over at my sword, then at Bree, and finally grinned. "So, is there anything I should know about this Theodore guy? I'll be fighting him soon." Chapter 66. Bree smiled while looking straight ahead at the ongoing performance. "Theodore is strong. Much stronger than you." I gulped. "Really? Should I drop OU dash?"
No.
"You'll be fine. As long as you take control of that sword." "Take control?" "Yes. If you let it push you around like that again, its violent nature may consume you." I felt my stomach churn as I looked over at my sword. So that was real? I really killed him in cold blood. I paused and looked at the ground, then back up to Bree. Reality is slowly setting in. "What did you do to me? What did you put in that sword? What's going on here?" Bree grinned and finally turned to look me in the eyes. "It was the element stone that you brought me. I didn't do anything. Whatever monster that stone came from has a wild spirit that remains even after death. If you want to continue using your blade, you'll have to tame the beast, or it will tame you." The sword glowed a faint red color in the corner of the room, then returned back to black. I stared forward at the beautiful women performing in the ring to try and calm my mind. "By the way, you don't have to fight again. Our agreement is complete. It's your choice to decide if you'd like to continue. Either way, take these." Bree handed me an HP and MP potion. I didn't really need them but chugged both just for the sake of it. She's right. Our agreement is complete. I could walk out of here right now and never see anyone in this underground hellhole again. I nervously looked back at my sword, then remembered the exact moment I killed that innocent man. My heart pounded and my stomach churned. The mixture of frustration, anger, and anxiety became overwhelming. I began to sweat and fidget, overthinking everything. There's only one thing that puts my mind at ease in situations like this. I'll fight. Bree grinned and turned back to the entertainment. Good. We watched the show in silence as my anxiety grew. It felt like there were eyes gazing at me from the back of the room where my sword lay. It wasn't even glowing or emanating any energy. I think it's just pure paranoia at this point. Finally, I heard the announcer's voice chime in as the dancers left the arena. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Now, it's almost time for our main event. Let's have our fighters come forward. The brawl will begin in under 5 minutes. I looked at Bree and she nodded slowly. Best of luck out there. I looked her in the eyes before putting on the black and red demon's mask. Then, turned around and grabbed my sword. I swung the door open and left without saying a word. Again, as I walked through the crowd, everyone parted all around me. No one wanted to get close. People grinned in awe, others scowled in disgust. It seems to be a mixed crowd. I made it to the cage and the same worker from before let me in. I stood alone in the middle of the ring with all eyes on me. I could hear the crowd's mixed reviews all around me. Boo! He's really fighting again already? Theodore will destroy him. I think the Flame Emperor could be our new champ. I like this guy's style. Kill or be killed, no questions asked. Murderer! How can you stand up there with such a lack of honor? Take off the mask. This will be the fight of the year. I'm betting on the new kid. My money's on Theo all the way. You're crazy. Get it started. I want to see this brawl already. Enough waiting. I had to just start blocking them all out. The more I try and listen, the more anxious I become. With a deep breath in and out, I raised my sword up in the air and ignited it into a burst of flames. I stared deep into the jet-black flaming sword and yelled, "This is my fight, all right. I'm your wielder. You must obey me." The crowd went silent and the blade stayed black. There was not even a hint of a response from the sword, and I just looked like an idiot in front of the crowd. They all started to murmur again. Seconds later, the announcer spoke up while I still held my flaming blade high in the air. "Thank you for the intro. With that, our main event is about to begin. We'll get started with the man in the ring. You all know him well, the winner of our previous match, coming in at 20 years old, 181 centimeters, and weighing 84 kilograms. He holds an overall fight record in the Rumble Dome of 1 win, 0 losses, and 0 ties. Please welcome back the Flame Emperor." About half of the crowd cheered and clapped, but it was nothing like my last introduction. I looked around and bowed while giving them another burst of flames before bringing the sword back to my side. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Coming in at 29 years old, 198 centimeters, and weighing 121 kilograms. With an overall fight record in the Rumble Dome of 47 wins, 0 losses, and 0 ties. Please welcome our U250 reigning champion, Theodore the Destroyer. Thud, thud, thud. The door of the cage opened up and a massive man walked through. He wore a thick silver chest plate, an odd necklace with a large tooth hanging from it, wrist guards, high boots, and a gladiator-style helmet that only revealed his eyes and mouth. The champion carried a tall rectangular shield and a massive metal club almost as tall as me. He had tan skin that almost looked orange, and muscles bulged out from every possible place they could. His steps shook the ground as he towered over me. The crowd went crazy. As the cage door shut, the room exploded into cheers and yells. They threw their shirts and hats in the air as they chanted in unison. "Theodore! Theodore! 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 Theodore!" I gripped my sword and stared at the menacing beast of a man. I used Inspect. LV. 220-inch. Level 220, and he's the champ? How is this possible? I curiously looked him up and down, then remembered I picked up a new skill from my previous fight. I wonder what it'll show me. Appraisal. Active items. Steel helmet plus 100 defense. Steel chest plate plus 100 defense. Minotaur's wrist guards plus 175 defense. Steel boots plus 150 speed. Dragon tooth pendant plus 30% mental strength. Large steel shield plus 200 defense. Steel club plus 300 strength. Active skills. I raised an eyebrow and grinned. This is a neat new skill I picked up. He's a level 220, and his gear seems pretty standard. Just by looking at him, his defense and strength are most likely the strong points. Compared to my own base stats and gear, I don't think we're that far off. How can he be the undefeated champion of this division with such average gear and not even a maxed level? I wonder what those question marks under the active skills section are. The announcer's voice began to ring in my ears. I shook myself out of deep thought and gritted my teeth to stare down at my new opponent across from me. Everybody knows the rules. There's no time limit in the ring. All tricks, magic items, and abilities are allowed. The winner will be decided by knockout, forfeit, or death. As seen in our last match, anything goes. A forfeit places you in your opponent's mercy. We will begin at the sound of the bell. Theodore stomped his feet and pointed the metal club at me. You're dead meat. I grinned and pointed my sword back at him while letting the flames burn bright. I could say the same thing about you. He smirked. Ding. Theodore charged forward at me with incredible speed. It's comparable to my own. I reacted on instinct and twisted my body to the right, barely dodging his massive club swing past me. I sprinted to the opposite side of the cage and watched the large man plant his leg and turn around to stare at me with bloodshot eyes. He's impressively nimble and quick for his size. He has almost no gear buffing his speed. Are these really just his natural stats? Before I could think, he sprinted at me again with a murderous aura around him. It took me all the strength in my body to dodge to the right side again. His club came centimeters from my head this time. I gulped and held my sword tight as the beast of a man turned to face me again. He smiled wide and his eyes looked even crazier this time around. They became more bloodshot and focused directly on me. This time, I'll find a way to counter. He came charging towards me with blinding speed. I challenged his attack with my own speed, channeling a large amount of MP into my sword and preparing to use body hardening to soften the blow of his attack. Shing! I swung my sword with all my might and twisted my body to curve around his club. I managed to land a small hit on his left shoulder where there was no armor, but it wasn't a deep gash. Is his defense really that high? The moment I landed my attack, he registered this and corrected the swing of his own club. Thud crack asterisk. Theodore landed a hit on me directly in the stomach. I had time to create a layer of crystal body hardening, but somehow it cracked and shattered instantly. The wind was knocked out of me and my eyes opened wide as I flew across the ring to hit the back cage wall. My world felt like it turned slow motion as the square necklace on my chest exploded into 1,000 pieces. That means his hit did 500 HP worth of damage minimum, and I even protected myself with body hardening. I checked my status. It read 1050/1065 HP and 990/1065 MP. My extra life is gone already. I got to my feet and burst into flames to see him running at me again. With no time to think, I sprint out of the way with all my might and narrowly miss the high incoming club. Bree was right, he is a lot stronger than me, possibly faster too, and better defense. But how? Is it his skill? What's going on? Theo ran at me again with the same bloodshot eyes and a grin ear to ear. Come re. It's only a matter of time now. He swung his club and lunged forward. He isn't tiring one bit. All I can do is dodge. He came at me 4 more times and I swerved around his club, nearly getting hit with a fatal blow to the head every time. His precision is getting more and more dialed in with every attack. He may be right. It's only a matter of time. We stared each other down on opposite sides of the ring. I'm trying to stay focused as best I can, but the crowd is making a lot of noise. Come on! I came to see a fight. The Flame Emperor isn't so tough now. Theodore. Theodore. Get him. He's almost tired out. What a wimp. Looks like the murderer has met his match. The whole crowd is turning against me, and all I can do is run. How did I get myself into this situation anyways? Thudded crack asterisk. I got distracted. Theodore had run towards me and launched his usual frontal attack. I noticed after it was much too late. While hardening my abdomen and bracing for the impact, he struck my left side and sent me flying through the air to the backside of the cage again. The black crystal fragments flew everywhere and I coughed up blood as I regenerated and stood to my feet as fast as I could. My status read out 535/1065 HP and 875/1065 MP. I gritted my teeth and glared at him. Theodore charged in again. I dodged. Over and over. We played cat and mouse for another 40 seconds straight. The crowd booed me and chanted for Theodore as he tired me out. I attempted to use telekinesis at one point, but every time the blade got close he easily swatted it away with his club or shield. It contains less mana when I'm not directly in contact with it, so I found it was just draining MP unnecessarily and stopped trying this attack method. Theodore has had enough of me. I can tell he's getting frustrated. You annoy me, kid. I'm gonna end it right here and now. He ran at me with his shield held in front of him and the club behind his back. I got in a comfortable position to get ready for a dodge to either side. Once he got closer, I decided to jump to the left. The moment I did, he awkwardly followed. With his shield up front, he swerved to the left. I continued to run, but he stayed close behind, zigzagging until we got closer and closer to the back of the cage. He pulled the club from behind his back and cornered me on the left and right side with his incredible wingspan. I gulped and scanned the area. His massive legs, shield, and club have me comply boxed in. Theodore raised his club in the air and yelled as he swung it down towards me. Clank. The only thing I can do is block. I swung my fiery black blade up to meet his club. All that's left is a battle of strength and will. Instantly, I could feel his strength overwhelm me. I erupted into flames and forced as much MP into my blade as possible. Simultaneously, I plundered Theodore's MP to get a steady source of mana. His club overpowered my sword, and I'm being pushed to the ground attempting to latch onto any bit of leverage I can manage. I yelled out to my only hope remaining, the sword in my hands. It's time. Fight with me. Theodore smirked and pushed his club down with more force as I pushed every last drop of MP into my blade. Come on! Sweat flowed down my face as the sword refused to answer. Obey me. Still, nothing. Fine. I'll do it myself. I stopped sending MP into the sword and sent it directly to my own body, erupting into a ball of fire 5 m in diameter and covering my body in black crystals. We both yelled as Theodore's club crushed me under its immense weight, and I attempted to burn him to a crisp. Theodore jumped back out from my ball of fire as he landed his brutal attack. I let my flames dissipate and regenerated my broken bones. I checked my status again, as I spit out a puddle of blood. It read 20/1065 HP and 545/1065 MP. I stood to my feet and glared at the massive man in front of me as he patted out the flames covering his body. He was burned all over but didn't seem to be fazed by it. This is truly a monster. His eyes met mine and I raised my blade. It finally began to glow red. Chapter 67. My vision is blurry, and my clothing is soaked in blood. Even after regenerating, most of my body aches with fatigue. That doesn't matter now though. All I can think about is the man I have to defeat in front of my eyes. My blood is boiling and adrenaline is pumping through my veins. Even though I'm face to face with death, I feel like I can take on the entire world. It's exhilarating. This feeling is what I fight for. The sword in my hands is glowing brighter than I've ever seen it shine. There's a strong sense of bloodlust emanating from it, but I'm putting out a ferocious aura of my own. As our raw emotions clash, it seems the beast within the sword recognizes my intentions. Even in my moment of complete and utter defeat against a superior fighter, I still have the will to face my opponent head-on. We've come to an understanding. Fight to survive. It seems I've gained my sword's respect. Theodore glares at me from across the ring and we lock eyes. He charges forward as I begin to feed MP into my continuously glowing blade. My opponent has dropped his shield behind him and sprints forward with his club raised to finish me off. One hit and I'm dead. I grit my teeth and continue feeding every last drop of mana in my body through my hands into the shining weapon clasped between my fingers. The light keeps growing brighter and brighter as our auras clash to become one. My vision almost goes black as I lift my sword to begin a mighty swing. Theodore charges towards me from over 5 meters away. All of the mana leaves my body and is released in one fiery slash. A massive dark red crescent moon of flames is released from deep within the sword and flies through the air, leaving thick trails of fire magic residue behind. Time slows down as I hear the crowd yell and scream about the heat. Some members in the front rows fall over and run away from the dome. Theodore's eyes open wide and his face becomes distorted as the fiery slash rockets toward him. It's all over in a fraction of a second. Shing! Like a knife through butter, the dark flames slice through the entire right side of Theo's chest plate, cutting off his arm, shoulder, and part of his chest. His club clangs as it hits the floor and he drops to his knees screaming in agony. The dark crescent of flames slashes through the top of the dome's metal cage with an array of sparks and metal fragments. It continues upward over 20 m and smashes through the warehouse roof as well. I stumbled around and struggled to stay on my feet as I watched in awe. My vision wavered in and out and I questioned my own power. This is like nothing I've ever done before. The crowd became silent, then erupted in cheers moments later. I knew he had it in him. The Flame Emperor is our new champ. My money was on him this whole time. Who cares about his morals? We came for a good fight. Flame Emperor. Flame Emperor. I snarled and rolled my eyes as I struggled to stay conscious. This crowd is awful. There's no loyalty in degeneracy. That's what this fight club and gambling ring are all about, I guess. Doing whatever feels good and riding highs. At that same moment, Theodore attempts to stand to his feet. His club had rolled about 2 m away and now he's trying to inch his way closer to it. I walk towards him with my sword raised in front of me. The gaping hole in the dome above us is dropping shards of half-melted metal all around as the dark flames burn bright on his mangled body. I stand over Theodore and touch the tip of my blade to his neck. I plunder as much MP as I can to build strength for an attempt at a final attack. His eyes open wide and his face turns white as he desperately reaches for the club by my feet. I give up. I forfeit. My sword begins to glow, and I feel it edging me on to finish the prey in front of me. In my weakened state, it's an appetizing offer. The temptation is killing me. I grit my teeth and shake my head as I pull the blade away from Theodore's throat and raise it in the air while turning my back and walking away to face the crowd. I mutter under my breath, "I'm in charge now," then smirk to myself as I take in the roaring applause of the audience. Seconds later, Theo's yells out from behind me, "I don't care anymore. Screw honor. You won't take everything away from me." I turn back around to see Theodore stumbling toward me with his club in his left hand. The crowd booed as he swung at my head. His movements are much slower because of his injuries. I was able to dodge the attack and position myself for a counter. I nodded and closed my eyes while channeling the remainder of his own stolen MP into my sword. With a swift lunge, I stabbed him on his unguarded right side and released my flames deep into the already open wound. We both yelled as I plundered every last bit of his MP and turned it against him. It felt like such overkill, but he has so much excess HP and mana. All I can do is continue to burn him to a crisp until he gives up. The crowd just couldn't get enough. It's a madhouse in here. The entire dome filled with flames and the audience roared with amusement. I didn't stop until I finally heard the ringing in my head that confirmed it was over. Level up. 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 13 levels. B, but how? That's impossible. I looked down at the pile of ash at my feet and saw the familiar floating blue text. Use absorption. Skill, conceal. Yes. No. In a dazed state, I chose yes and fell to my knees as the flames around me began to dissipate. I heard the announcer's voice ring out above my head. What an incredible match. Who would have seen this coming? It looks like we have a new U250 champion. Everyone, let's hear it for the Flame Emperor. The crowd roared and I looked around the arena trying to stay conscious. 2 workers came into the ring and helped me to my feet. I stumbled out and muttered to one of the workers to take me to the VIP area, while vaguely pointing in the direction of the booth I came from. My vision kept going in and out as the crowd parted all around me. Finally, I saw Bree walking toward me with a smile. I'll take him from here, boys. Why yes, Ms. Brianna. Again, she put her arm around my shoulder and walked me back to the VIP booth. Bree handed me an HP and MP potion. I chugged them both before we even walked inside. Once we did, she shut the door and I collapsed on the padded seats. Looks like you were able to control the beast in the end. Good job. I opened one eye to look up at her. Yeah, I'm going home. She laughed. Let me at least walk you out. I grabbed my sword and shoved it into my item storage. Take me to the surface, then I'm leaving. If I ever do business with you again, I'm bringing all the gold in this entire city. Never again will I accept a mindless condition instead of paying. Bree smirked. Pleasure doing business with you too. Chapter 68. We let the crowd die down and disperse before exiting the arena. I kept my mask on to avoid being identified. No one's gonna know who I am, but it's just better for people to not associate my face with an illegal underground fight ring champ. Bree leads me into the main market. We walked no more than 500 m and made a hard left to a nearby heavy metal door. It's attached to a staircase upwards. We climbed the stairs and I found myself in the back of an old wooden tavern. I put my mask in item storage and Bree spoke up as we walked in. Table for one, it's Ms. Brianna. An old short man hobbled over with both of his eyebrows raised high. Yes, ma'am, right this way. She smiled at him. Feed this young man and treat him well. I appreciate you, Franklin. He nodded and turned to me. Follow me, sir. Bree turned back towards the stairs and waved. I'll see you again, Jay. You know where to find me if you need anything. Like that, she was gone. I let out a sigh of relief and followed the old man to a table in the back. Once seated, I didn't even bother to look at the menu. Just bring me your special of the day. I'm not picky. I appreciate the kind gesture. Of course, coming right up. The tavern is pretty much completely empty. I took out my sword and placed it against the wall beside me. It glimmered jet black and didn't give off a scent of consciousness. I patiently waited and opened up my status out of curiosity. Status open. Name Jay Soju. Level 225. HP 1130/1130. MP 1130/1130. Strength 545 plus 420. Speed 646 plus 388. Agility 672. Defense 481 plus 192. Mental strength 545 plus 109 plus 153. Skills: absorption, swordsmanship, combat magic, fire summoning, inspect, special grade, enemy detection, body hardening, special grade, self-regeneration, spatial magic, item storage, plunder, telekinesis, appraisal, special grade, conceal, items equipped, golden wolf ring, plus 20% mental strength, Cyclops eye pendant, plus 40% defense, dark elf boots, plus 60% speed, the Flame Emperor's sword, fire aspect, plus 77% strength, plus 28% mental strength, Interesting. As I studied my new stats, I realized my sword's buffs increased slightly. The only reasonable explanation is that it's growing with me. I've seen enough improbable things today already. I guess this makes sense too. I'll have to ask someone I trust about this another time. My newest skill also intrigues me a bit. I whispered conceal under my breath, and a blue box of text appeared next to my status. Use conceal. Yes. No. I chose yes. Enter changes. Level. HP.
Mepe.
Strength. Speed. Agility. Defense. Mental strength. Skills. Items equipped. Buffs. Other. Revert to original. I touch my right index finger to my status and a digital keyboard appears before my eyes. I'm able to edit my status. While mesmerized by my new ability, the old man finally came over to my table with a steaming plate of meats, rice, and vegetables. Here you go, sir, enjoy. I smiled and nodded to him, then raised an eyebrow. Hey, 1 second. What do you see when you look at this? I flipped my status window over to him and he took a look. Status open. Name J Soju. Level 250. HP 1255/1255. MP 1255/1255. Strength 605 plus 200. Speed 720. Agility 650. Defense 505. Mental strength 605. Skills swordsmanship. Items equipped. Minotaur's sword plus 200 strength. Well, sir, it looks like you're a very strong swordsman. I didn't know Minotaur dropped swords. That must be a rare item you have there. Congratulations on hitting level 250 though. That's a big accomplishment. I grinned ear to ear. Appreciate it, thank you. The man bowed and walked away to let me enjoy my meal. I stared at my status and activated conceal again. Use conceal. Yes. No. I chose yes. Enter changes. Level. HP.
Mepe.
Strength. Speed. Agility. Defense. Mental strength. Skills. Items equipped. Buffs. Revert to original. I chose revert to original, and my status changed back to its true stats in front of my eyes. This solves so many problems. When I put my sword back into my item storage, I realized I didn't have my item box on me. Bree really kept it. She just wants me to come back so she can torture me more. I rolled my eyes but grinned at the same time. It's kind of funny. I hope I see her again someday. I just need a lot more gold before I ever walk through her front door. I happily finished my meal and felt a lot better. The old man eventually took away my empty dishes and walked me out the front door, refusing to let a friend of Brianna's pay. I got outside and realized I'm still on the totally opposite side of town. There were shining silver buildings way off in the distance, so I decided to begin walking that way. It took almost an hour to get back to the familiar tourism-filled residential area of the city. While walking, I had a lot of time to think over my current situation and new goals. I'm going to tone it down for the next week or so. I just spent the majority of my money and have been getting myself into some really insane scenarios recently. It'd be best to slowly level up for a while and stack cash. With my new sword and stat increases, I'm sure grinding out the Minotaur dungeon will be a breeze. I walked through the front doors of the inn and was greeted by a friendly face. Back so soon? How was your day off? I laughed. He has no idea. Great, great. By the way, any news on the surge today? Any big reports? He shook his head. Not much. I assume there's still a few mutants, but no major breaks. By tomorrow, the city will be back to normal. Great. I'd like to stay a few more nights if my room will still be available. Could I extend my stay until next Saturday? The innkeeper sifted through a few important documents and then looked up at me. Of course, I can arrange that. You still have a few nights that are already paid for ahead of you, but we can make an extension. Would you like to pay now or once our current agreement is over? I rummaged through my item storage and pulled out 3 silver to place on the table. How's that? He nodded and wrote something down on his papers. Great, you're booked until Saturday morning. Enjoy the rest of your stay. With a smile, I made my way back up to my room and straight into a hot shower. Afterward, I lay on my bed staring out the window admiring the view while resting my eyes for no more than 20 minutes. I'm physically tired from my fights earlier today, but there's no way I can fall asleep for a full night just yet. I hopped out of bed, then stretched my arms and legs. Why not? I'll go raid a dungeon. Without thinking much more, I made my way downstairs and toward the dungeon hub. It wasn't very crowded, and all the raid restrictions had been lifted. The innkeeper was right, the surge has mostly passed. I checked in at the main hub and made my way down to the D-class platform. I took a look at the dungeon list. There are a lot of interesting options, but returning to the Minotaur dungeon seems like the safest bet for now. I boarded the train and entered the dungeon less than 10 minutes later. While wandering around the dungeon for about 2 hours, I encountered 5 groups of Minotaur. They all ranged from level 155 to 195. Some were in groups of 2, others were in groups of 3. Fighting them was too easy with my new sword, boots, and the general increase in stats from leveling. My sword hasn't even glowed red once, nor have I had to use much fire magic at all. They dropped 13 mana crystals and 1 large axe in total. After these smaller battles, I decided to check out the boss room. When I arrived, it appeared to be completely normal. The portal is light gray, meaning there's no sign of a mutant boss. With a shrug, I jumped through. As I remembered, the boss room looks like an open plain. The initial wave is 7 Minotaurs. This time around, they were all normal spawns ranging from level 190 to 200. I easily defeated them before the boss even arrived. They dropped 7 mana crystals and no axes. The boss appeared moments later, and it actually looked rather menacing. Compared to the death matches I was in hours ago though, this feels like a walk in the park. I used Inspect and Appraisal. LV. 234. Active items. Steel Axe, plus 225 strength. Steel Wrist Guards, plus 175 defense. Active skills. None. I completely outpaced the monster and lit it up with fiery gashes all over. Took about 6 swings. The beast was defeated without landing a single hit of its own. I've significantly improved. Level up. Level up. The boss only dropped a mana crystal. I wasn't lucky enough to get anything else. Once collected, the white light transported me back to the dungeon's start point. I turned right back around and decided to clear the whole dungeon again before it got too late in the day. 2.5 hours later. Level up. Level up. I collected another 17 mana crystals and 1 large steel axe along with gaining 2 more levels. Once I left the dungeon, the sun had already pretty much set, so I headed to the market as quickly as possible to sell my loot to the old merchant. Hey kid, how'd it go? Were they able to make you a sword out of that horn? Kinda. I ran into a few bumps along the way, but I have a sword to fight with now. Thanks for the help. I grinned and pulled out a massive pile of mana and 3 axes onto the table. The mana scale read out 62, 91.44 mu. How much do you want for it all? 1 gold, 20 silver, and a small item box. What happened to the last one? I rolled my eyes. Long story. The merchant chuckled to himself as he counted out my coins and placed them on the counter along with a brown pouch. With a nod and a handshake, I was off. I decided to take it pretty easy over the next few days. I enjoyed good food, slept well, and farmed in the Minotaur dungeon for about 6 to 8 hours a day. Level up, 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 level up. I leveled up 8 more times, collected 436 mana crystals, and a total of 27 axes. In total, I profited roughly 15 gold. The only problem now is my own boredom. It's Friday morning and I'm standing at the D-Class Dungeon Hub platform staring at the list. I didn't level up at all yesterday from defeating the boss 4 times and my sword hasn't glowed once since my arena fights. I'll be taking the train back to my hometown tomorrow. The question is, do I play it safe for one more day or check out one of the other high-ranked D-class dungeons? Chapter 69. Hey, would you look at who it is? I heard a familiar voice behind me and turned my head to see Hudson smiling and waving while walking in my direction. Trailing behind him were 4 hunters I'd never seen before. Are these your new recruits? He nodded and looked back. Yup, fresh D-class hunters. It's my job to train them this weekend. Hey, how's Nessa doing? She's not with you today. Hudson nodded. Nessa hit level 250 yesterday. She's doing some special sword training at the guild to make sure she's ready for the test next weekend. Already? How did she level up so fast? I can't get much further in the Minotaur dungeon. Hudson pointed at the list on the wall. Well, the only other 2 D-class dungeons that have higher levels than the Minotaur are the Giant Ape and Lizardman dungeons. I assume she power-leveled there with another guild member. I took a look at the list. The Giant Ape dungeon seems straightforward enough. It'll be worth checking out today. Okay, thanks. That's exactly what I was looking for. Hey, tell Nessa I'll see her at the exams. Of course. Screech. With a wave of goodbye, we each got on different trains and headed off. Minutes later, I arrived. No one else got off at this stop. It looks like this dungeon isn't very popular. I made my way up the escalator and took out my sword before jumping through the floating blue portal. I'm bombarded by a hot and humid environment the second I enter this dungeon. There are thick trees all around and occasional small clearings that let in the shining artificial sunlight. The ground is covered in lush green plants and a variety of multicolored fruits and flowers. This is a jungle dungeon. It's pretty cool. I walk deeper in with slow, cautious steps, but this eventually turns into faster jogging as I get more comfortable with the terrain. It takes about 20 minutes before I encounter my first monster. As I'm walking along the jungle floor, I see many trees shaking violently in the distance and ready my blade. A dark brown creature comes flying out of the top of the trees, swinging on branches, and squares up with me on the jungle floor about 20 m away. I use Inspect and Appraisal. LV. 213. Active items. Steel machete plus 200 strength. Steel chestplate plus 200 defense. Active skills. None. It's a giant monkey. The beast stood around for m tall, and the ground shook after every step it took. The shining silver machete and armor it wore made it look almost human, but the bloodshot eyes and fangs protruding from its mouth told me otherwise. It let out a scream that shook the trees and ran at me. I ignited my blade and ran towards it as well. Within seconds, the ape fell into fiery pieces. I let out a sigh of disappointment and collected the mana crystal it dropped moments later. Hopefully the boss puts up a fight. Took about 2 hours, but I made it to the back of the dungeon. While walking, I faced off against 5 more apes. All of them ranged from level 210 to 220 and dropped mana crystals. One of them dropped a machete with plus 200 strength. I put all the loot in my item storage. The boss room portal is light gray. I jump through without much hesitation. The inside is also a jungle environment, but the outer edges of the room are blocked off by very large thick trees. It seems there's no wave of apes before the boss. All I hear is one large monster charging toward me in the distance. I use Inspect, Appraisal, and Enemy Detection. 50 m. LV. 246. Steel Machete. Plus 250 Strength. Steel Chestplate plus 250 Defense. Active Skills. None. Once it leaps out of the treetops, I can see that this beast looks almost identical to its underlings. It's just closer to 6 m tall. It let out a roar and our battle began. Although its defenses were a bit stronger, my speed and boosted strength wildly outclassed this boss. In just 3 hits, the giant ape fell to its knees and collapsed. Level up. Level up. I'm too powerful for these D-class dungeons. I let out another long-winded sigh and collected the large mana crystal that dropped while letting the white light transport me to the dungeon start point. Well, that was a waste of my time. I left and boarded the train to check out the Lizardman dungeon. Apparently, these 2 are at the top of the list. If this one doesn't impress me, I guess it's hopeless. After a short ride, I made it to the Lizardman portal. I readied my sword and jumped through to find myself in a desert dungeon. The air is dry and the sand is hot. There isn't a single tree in sight. I ventured forth to see what this dungeon had to offer. Unfortunately, I was slapped in the face with reality. My gear and level are just way too strong. I came across 7 monsters on my way to the boss room. They were all roughly 2.5 m tall, with green scaly skin, humanoid bodies, and lizard heads. Some held spears and others had swords. Most of them wore some type of armor. They were much more agile than the apes I fought earlier, but not nearly as strong. They ranged from level 215 to 225. Each battle lasted 1 to 2 hits max, and they all dropped mana crystals. I did not level up or get any special drops. Once I arrived and entered the boss room, I fought a much bigger and darker version of the regular lizardmen. It stood around 3.5 m tall, and its scaly skin was almost black in color. The beast was level 251 and carried a long silver sword. It did not put up much of a fight against my overpowered stats. Level up, level up. As I collected its mana crystal and transported back to the surface, I checked my status. Status open. Name, J. Soch. Level, 241. HP, 1210/1210. MP, 1045/1210. Strength, 582. Plus 448. Speed, 694. Plus 416. Agility, 720. Defense, 515. Plus 206. Mental strength, 582. Plus 116. Plus 163. Skills, absorption, swordsmanship, combat magic, fire summoning, inspect, special grade, enemy detection, body hardening, special grade, self-regeneration, spatial magic, item storage, plunder, telekinesis, appraisal, special grade, conceal, items equipped, golden wolf ring, plus 20% mental strength, cyclops eye pendant, plus 40% defense, dark elf boots, plus 60% speed, the flame emperor's sword, fire aspect, plus 77% strength, plus 28% mental strength. Interesting. Even though my level raised significantly since I checked it last, my sword stats haven't raised at all. I curiously examined my black blade before putting it into item storage and walking out of the dungeon. I've definitely graduated from these D-class dungeons. It's best to just call it a day at this point. I walked to the market and sold my loot for around 50 silver. After a decent meal, I stopped by a comic store and grabbed a new book I haven't caught up on yet before making my way back to the inn. Once upstairs, I opened to the first page and began to immerse myself in another world. There's not much else to do today, and I'm kind of bummed out about my current dungeon situation. The comic I grabbed today is all about an S-class hero that protects the world from monsters. It's the new volume that I've been waiting on for a few months. Although his position as a hero brings him fame and fortune, he's been doing the same thing every day for years. No monsters or even humans can come anywhere close to his level of power. Most of the chapters involve him daydreaming about fighting stronger monsters and being upset when he snaps back into reality where his battle has already been won. Although I'm nowhere near the world's strongest, I relate a lot with him today. The hero almost gives up on being a hero because it wasn't entertaining his immediate wants and needs. Eventually, he finds fulfillment and a larger purpose in helping the people around him stay safe and grow to reach their own goals. To be honest, I got a little lost on that last part. The whole craving a stronger opponent was all that stuck in my head. The end of the comic left us readers with a cliffhanger hinting that there may be a villain of much greater magnitude than he ever imagined. Of course, I can't wait to buy the next volume. With that, the sun slowly set and I fell asleep dreaming about fighting my own world-ending monster. I woke up with the rising sun and hopped out of bed to make my way downstairs. I hope you enjoyed your stay, sir. Please do come again. I nodded to the innkeeper and left him the room key. I had a great stay, thanks. After a quick breakfast, I hopped on the train and watched the buildings, trees, mountains, and lakes was by on my way back to the countryside. Screech. A few hours later the train came to a halt at my stop. I stepped out and looked around. This place doesn't feel the same at all anymore. Everything is so small. I walked back to my old apartment building and climbed the steps to my door. There's a note on the handle. You're welcome, Jay. You owe me one winky face. It's Maria's handwriting. But I owe her one for what? I opened my door and walked inside. Looking around, this place is a mess. There are clothes on the ground and old water bottles all over the place. Not to mention my standard of living has significantly increased since leaving here. This old wooden-floored 2-silver-month apartment is not going to cut it. I have to get a new place. Scratch that, I need to move to the city for good. I tidied up the apartment a bit before deciding to head off toward Pace Guild to check in on everyone. About half an hour later, I walked through the front door. The woman in the lobby greeted me with a surprised look on her face. Welcome back, Jay. I thought you vanished for good. With a sarcastic stare, I replied. Yeah, you wish. Is Jack in today? Sure thing. He just organized our morning raids. I'm sure he'd love to meet with you. Knock on his office door. With a nod, I walked down the narrow hallway and knocked on Jack's door. It swung open moments later and I was greeted with a smile. Hey, it's you. Welcome back. You look a whole lot different. I walked into his office as he motioned for me to do so. Really? What's changed? He stared at me for a moment. It's your eyes. They've definitely seen a bit more action since the last time we met. We both grinned at each other. I can't tell if he's just greasing me up or genuinely complimenting my improvement. Either way, I'll take it. Well, the capital just seems like the place to be. I'm going back. I just thought it'd be best to check back in. Plus, I know you had something you wanted to talk about last week. Could it have been the C-class exams? Jack sat down at his desk. Are you close to level 250? I nodded. Yep, very. Well, that's great to hear. I can send in your application today. Although you aren't very active in our guild, it would still be appreciated if you competed under our name. I raised an eyebrow. Competed under your name? What do you mean? Every region holds its own C-class exams separately, but the number of passes is regulated by the country as a whole. Well, it's actually regulated by the Hunters Association if you want to get into the nitty-gritty details. Every guild from around the region applies with their top D-class hunters over level 250, and they will compete in an event to decide the top of the class. If you don't make the cut the first time around, you can enter again as many times as you'd like. It may take a few tries to achieve the C-class rank, but that's only natural. It doesn't only take raw leveling power to defeat most C-class monsters. This is what they test for in the exam. I nodded slowly. Interesting. So if your guild submits a D-class hunter that passes the exam, I assume that raises your prestige a bit. Jack smiled. Well, yes, of course. I nodded again. Sign me up. I'll be more than ready in a week. Great. We locked eyes and shook hands. Then Jack spoke up. You know, we've been power leveling and training Maria a lot this week. She became much more motivated after she came back from the city. I doubt she'll make it to the necessary level by next Saturday. But her magic is progressing at an extraordinary rate. You may want to train with her a bit this week. Alright, maybe I will. Are there any high D-class dungeons around here? Ones that are borderline C-class? Or a real C-class that hasn't been rated yet, if that's even a thing? I need something to get my last couple of levels and cure my boredom for the time being. Jack put his hand on his chin and thought for a moment, then rolled his eyes. You're looking for a dungeon that bends the rules, aren't you? I grinned and he nodded in acknowledgement. Let me contact Ray. I'll have her take you to the High Orc Dungeon. You'll like it. Chapter 70. Sure. Sounds good to me. Jack left the room and came back around 5 minutes later. They should be back from a raid within the hour. You'll have to wait around for a little while. I nodded. That's fine. Jack looked me up and down. Ray told me you got a new sword at the city center. Want to go to the training rooms real quick? I'd love to see how much you've improved. Swordsman to swordsman. I grinned. Sure, but I'll have to go easy on you. Hey, come on now. We both walked out of his office and entered the white-walled room. Once I drew my sword, Jack's eyes lit up. Oh, look at that. He drew his sword as well. We began to spar casually for almost an hour. Neither of us used full strength, of course, but we had a good time. Clashing blades with a swordsman is like sitting down and listening to their whole life story. I learned a lot. Good warm-up, you're not half bad. Jack smirked and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Oh yeah? Breaking 3 practice swords in less than an hour is what you call a warm-up. I glanced at the shards of steel in the corner of the room. Not my fault this sword is so strong. We both had a good laugh and sat down by the resting area and replenished our HP and MP. Knock, knock, knock. The training room door opened and 2 familiar faces popped their heads through. Jay! Welcome back. Maria came running in with a full set of lightweight armor on head to toe. Ray poked her head in close behind. I instinctively used inspect and appraisal as she ran toward me. LV. 156. Active items. Steel sword plus 125 strength. Steel chest plate plus 100 defense. Steel wrist guards plus 75 defense. Steel shin guards plus 75 defense. Enchanted boots plus 100 speed plus 100 agility. Golem's pendant plus 30% mental strength. Active skills. Combat magic. Ice summoning. She wore light-colored clothing under the thin sheets of steel armor plates that fit around the curves of her body perfectly. Also, level 156? Jack wasn't kidding. She's been power leveling like crazy this week. Maria jumped through the air and put her arms out wide. Moments later, she hugged me tight. I returned the favor. This is a surprise. Good to see you too, Maria. She dropped down to her feet and looked up at me with a smile that quickly turned to a mildly annoyed, pouting look. Did you get my note? I raised my hands in the air with a confused look. All these emotions at once caught me off guard. Yeah, why? You were gone so long you didn't pay your rent, Jay. Our landlord was knocking forever. Oh, I paid it for you, so you're good. With an embarrassing looking on my face, I sifted through my item box to pull out some silver. Let me pay you back. I'm sorry about Dash. Nope. I don't want your money. Take me hunting with you today. She looked straight at me and smiled with her deep blue eyes piercing my soul. I didn't have time to answer before Ray interrupted. Hey, I'm not so sure you're ready for the dungeon we're about to go to. I didn't know you actually wanted to come with us. I thought you were just welcoming Jay back home. She pouted again. You guys always treat me like a little kid. I'm really strong now, you know. Ray looked at Jack and he just nodded. You'll be fine, just don't dive too deep. I'll give the green flag to all 3 of you. Just be careful. He nodded. I looked back down at Maria. Well, looks like it's a yes from me too. I guess I do owe you one. She nodded and grinned. I turned to Jack and shook his hand. He spoke up. Had a great time sparring with you, Jay. Glad you're back. I'll have that application sent in today. Appreciate it. Maria, Ray, and I walked out of the training room and through the guild's back doors moments later. Ray spoke up. It's about 40 minutes of walking from here. This dungeon is kinda way off the radar. Maria and I nodded, then followed close behind. We caught each other up on important info and how our dungeon diving had gone the past week. Maria basically doubled in level. She's been exclusively training with Ray in low, mid, and even high-level D-class dungeons around here. The guild supplied her with this gear because she's been progressing so quickly. Maria has to work on battle technique more than anything else. Her magic power is off the charts. I'm looking forward to seeing how she fights now. I asked Ray why she doesn't dive into any C-class dungeons. The answer honestly surprised me. Apparently, they're too dangerous. Hudson said the same thing in the capital, though. I guess there must be something to that. She just gets paid a monthly salary to train the newbies here. A simple life can't knock her for it. Also, one of the wildest things Ray told me. The guild master is Jack's dad. He is usually out traveling or on business. That's why AD class is running the place and giving orders. Everything makes so much more sense now. As we walked and talked, the course Ray took us was way off the main road. There's a large forest area with a few medium-sized mountains south of our town. Apparently, there are a few old and abandoned privately run guild dungeons up here. Just a little further. If I remember correctly, it's right over here. Ray pointed to an opening in the tree line and we walked through. On the other side, we came across a small wooden shack. The door had a small sign on the front that read, "Property of the Pace Guild. Do not enter." Creaked open as we walked inside. The shack is empty with a blue portal floating at its backside. We all drew our weapons and switched into battle mode while walking through. I looked around in awe. New worlds never get old. The ground is completely black and made out of a material I'd guess is some kind of hard stone. The terrain is completely flat, but there are occasional odd-looking black trees and mounds of rocks every 10 m or so. Feels like a desert, but the coloring is very off and there's no sand at all. The lack of green just makes me think there's no life in here. The sky is a light orange color, and the dungeon itself is reasonably well lit. This has to be one of the weirdest dungeons I've ever seen. Maria nodded and looked around while holding her sword tight. I agree. What is this place? Ray spoke up. Keep your eyes peeled. Anything can happen in here. As long as we don't face the boss. I'm able to handle most monsters in here solo. I'll let you two fight and only step in if you need me. Maria and I both nodded. We all walked further into the dungeon. Like clockwork, 20 minutes or so into our trek, I felt a sinister presence approaching. I used inspect, appraisal, and enemy detection. 70 m. LV. 246. Active items. Steel mace plus 250 strength. Steel sword plus 250 strength. High orc heavy armor plus 300 defense. Active skills. Berserker. My eyes opened wide as I watched a beast appear from behind a pile of rocks. Ray jumped backward and motioned for us to take it on. I looked at Maria, and she looked back at me. Let me at it. I got this. I gripped my sword and stared at the beast running at us for a moment, then back at Maria. She nodded at me with a serious look on her face. I stepped back and let her take the lead. All you. I'll be your backup. She grinned and started sprinting toward the oncoming beast. With a worried look on my face, I watched her closely getting ready to step in at a moment's notice. The high orc charging at us is about 3.5 m tall. It's not as massive as some of the other beasts I've seen, but there is something menacing about its appearance. The monster is swinging a spiked mace around in its right hand and has a sheathed sword on its left leg. The dark green skin almost looks brown and ripples over the defined muscles below. The high orc is basically wearing a full set of armor covering its arms, legs, and most vital areas. The way it's scanning the terrain and swinging its weapon rhythmically gives me the impression that this is a fairly intelligent monster. Maria glowed bright blue as she approached the sophisticated beast. It let out a roar, and she screamed back at it while covering her sword in a thick layer of ice. I could feel the temperature around us begin to lower and the ring of blue light around her began to grow larger. Everything within 5 m of her is being affected. The trail of ice behind her is thick and shows no signs of melting. The high orc and her collide moments later. I can't believe the sight in front of my eyes. As the orc swings its mace, Maria shoots a wave of ice at its oncoming weapon. The beast freezes in its tracks. Literally, the entire right side of its body, including the mace, is covered in a thick layer of ice. It lets out a roar as she begins to run past. It was all over in an instant. Maria circles back and releases another wave of ice across the left side of its body. The high orc is frozen solid from head to toe. This beast is completely immobilized. I can't believe my eyes. She just took down a monster 100 levels greater than her like it was nothing. Maria looks back at me with a grin. Then I hear a cracking sound. The pristine white statue of ice begins to splinter and break. A dark red light starts to seep through the cracks, glowing brighter and brighter from within. Chapter 71. Crack. The high orc roared as it broke free from its ice prison. The dark red aura around its body gave off an immense power that definitely was not present before. I looked back to see Ray standing close behind us with her arms crossed. Maria had turned back to the beast, looking ready to attack again. Her base magic stats are naturally boosted about 2x that of an average person, but I can't help wanting to jump in and help her. She yelled the moment I took a step toward her. "I got this. Trust me, Jay." I gritted my teeth and stared at the beast in front of us. "Fine. I'm right behind you, though." She nodded and began to glow bright blue. The high orc charges at Maria and she does the same. It swings the massive mace over its head in a fit of rage. The second before impact, Maria created a thick wall of ice in front of her and sprints off to the left. While continuing to glow red, the monster breaks straight through the wall without much resistance. Ice chunks fly everywhere and the battlefield is temporarily covered in a veil of small ice fragments that look almost like snow. Shing. I hear the distinct sound of a blade hitting flesh and see Maria fly out from the dissipating cloud of snow. The monster roars and I see a large chunk of ice stuck in its back in the shape of a sword slash dripping blood. Maria took out an MP potion from her item box and drank it while squaring up with the beast again. I released the grip on my sword slightly. "I guess you have this under control." She grinned and ran at the monster again. It fell for the same trick. After smashing through Maria's wall of ice, it creates a blind spot for her to attack. The beast is clearly stronger, faster, and has much higher defenses. Tricking it into making optimal conditions for a surprise magic attack is the only way Maria could win. It seems like she's fought opponents like this in the past. I looked over to Ray and she smiled, admiring her young protege at work. I watch in disbelief. Earlier, I saw the skill Berserker when I used appraisal. This commonly refers to an increase in strength and endurance. It seems to be the case, but I'll just have to test my theory when I get to face one of these high orcs myself. Maria continues to create massive ice walls and the monster keeps destroying them. She lands cheap shots whenever possible, leaving ice residue behind after every slash. It's clearly hurting the beast, but very slowly. She's drank 4 MP potions so far, and landed about 10 good hits on the high orc. It's slowing down as the ice magic seeps deeper into its body. The game of cat and mouse continues. Maria makes walls, and the beast knocks them down. This only leads to the walls of ice being blown into more pieces, and the eruption of snow gives Maria even more cover. The more hits she lands, the more effective each one becomes, leaving deeper icy wounds all over the orc's body. Doing so just makes it more angry and irrational, continuing an endless loop. With a final slash to the back of the head, the monster finally falls to its knees. Maria takes this opportunity to release a large amount of mana into the beast and covers it completely with ice. She doesn't stop until it freezes solid. With a confident downward swing of her blade, the high orc shatters into 1,000 tiny pieces. Maria drinks her 7th MP potion and turns to Ray and me with a big grin across her face. "I just gained 23 levels. Now that was a good fight." Ray clapped slowly and I watched the ice fragments disappear with the remains of the orc. A mana crystal drops and Maria picks it up. "You know,
I'm impressed.
you've really improved." "Thanks. I told you I've been training hard. Look at this." Maria opened her status and turns it to show me. Status open. Name, Maria Cortez. Level, 179. HP, 705/705. MP, 705/705. Strength, 388. Plus 125. Speed, 421. Plus 100. Agility, 404. Plus 100. Defense, 395. Plus 100. Plus 75. Plus 75. Mental strength, 797. Plus 239. Skills, combat magic, ice summoning. Items equipped, steel sword plus 125 strength. Steel chestplate plus 100 defense. Steel wrist guards plus 75 defense. Steel shin guards plus 75 defense. Enchanted boots plus 100 speed plus 100 agility. Golem's pendant plus 30% mental strength. My eyes open wide. That explains a lot. Your magic is still off the charts. She smiled and blushed a little. Just like that, Maria has become one hell of a fighter. Her overuse of MP is alarming, but it works. That mental strength growth rate is insane. I'm sure she can handle the same high orc with ease now. She'll only get exponentially stronger with every new superior opponent. We all venture off further into the dungeon while I'm stuck deep in thought. Maria and Ray explain what kind of training they've been doing in more detail as we walk. It's mostly sword skill work, lower-level D-class dungeons for funding, then higher D-class raids once she has enough MP potions saved. The guild isn't just throwing money at her. She has to work for it. I guess that's good. This dungeon is the most difficult one she's ever faced, but it seems like it won't be an issue. Almost half an hour passed. Finally, another high orc appeared. My turn. Ray and Maria stepped back as I drew my sword. The orc that appeared looks almost identical to the one earlier. I used Inspect and Appraisal. LV. 248. Active items. Steel mace plus 250 strength. Steel sword plus 250 strength. High orc heavy armor plus 300 defense. Active skills. Berserker. I make the first move and charge straight toward it. The beast follows my lead while swinging its mace in a rhythmic fashion. Clang. Surprisingly, we're almost equal in strength. If anything, it may be a little stronger. Clang. I entertain the monster while gauging all of its abilities. My speed and agility are far greater. I'm not worried about getting hit at all. I ignite my blade and run around its backside after our second collision and land a fiery hit without much effort. I plunder MP and leave a solid amount of fire residue behind. The orc lets out a roar and flails its spike mace around in circles trying to hit me. I jump backward and we stare each other down about 10 m apart. It snarls and begins to glow dark red. I grin. One hit is all it takes for you to get pissed, huh? Let's see what you've got. The high orc charges at me in a straight line with its weapon swinging wildly in front of it. The ground shakes as it comes closer. Out of curiosity, I run at it and raise my blade. As our weapons collide, I'm completely overpowered. The weight of its mace combined with its newfound strength sends my sword attack flying to the side. I quickly reposition myself and jump out of the way following the momentum of my blocked sword. As I stare down the beast again, I wonder to myself with my body hardening, how well could I take a hit in its strengthened form? Maria and Ray are right behind me watching with their eyes wide open. Realizing this, it's probably better if I just end this quickly and leave the fun stuff for later. While circling back behind the orc, I ignite my full body into a ball of fire. I plant my right leg and jump toward the monster's back as it attempts to turn as well. I land another deep fiery slash across its back and the monster lets out an angry roar. To my surprise, the gash is much deeper than my last. Its defenses haven't gone up at all in this fit of rage. If anything, they've lowered. A few moments later, our battle was over. I ran circles around the monster and cut it down to a pile of ash with 4 more hits. My sword didn't glow once. Level up. Use absorption. Skill, Berserker. Yes. No. I choose yes and stare down at the burning corpse by my feet. Maria comes running toward me. Wow. You got a lot stronger too. I knew it. I turn and smile. Ray follows close behind. Both of you handled these high orcs pretty well. Looks like I won't have to step in at all today. I nod. Do they ever use their swords? Ray crossed her arms and nodded while motioning for us to follow. Yeah, some will as we get closer to the boss room. They'll use more than just that sword. I collected the mana crystal at my feet and looked out into the vast orange sky. Interesting. Maybe I'll actually get a serious fight today. Ray chuckled and started to walk deeper into the dungeon. Maria and I followed. Chapter 72. We walked for another 20 minutes or so. The terrain changed a little bit. There are much fewer rocks, less trees, and the ground feels a lot harder. It just seems like there's unlimited flat ground surrounding us in all directions. It's a bit eerie. Finally, a new monster appears up in the distance. Ray steps back. Both of you should take this one on. High orcs this deep in the dungeon can be stronger than the ones you just faced. Maria and I acknowledged her. We gnawed at each other, then ready ourselves for the approaching beast. It lets out a roar. I use Inspect and Appraisal. LV. 257. Active items. Steel Mace plus 250 Strength. Steel Sword plus 250 Strength. High Orc Heavy Armor plus 300 Defense. Active skills. Berserker. Swordsmanship. Interesting. It looks exactly the same as any other orc we faced charging toward us swinging its mace. This one has a swordsmanship skill. I wonder how differently it'll fight. Jay. I'll distract it. Then we'll both attack. Maria sprinted forward before I could get a word in. I followed close behind, avoiding the path of ice magic she leaves behind in her tracks. She began to form a massive wall of ice in front of her while I veer off to the right side. Moments later, the beast falls for her trap and shoots thousands of ice fragments into the sky, making a cloud of snow. I use enemy detection and ignite my blade while diving into the heavy snow cover. Shing. Both of us fly out from either side of the snow cloud. I leave a fiery gash across the orc's chest while she leaves shards of ice deep in the monster's back. The snow dissipates and it lets out an ear-piercing roar. The mace flies out of its hand and the beast begins to glow dark red. Maria and I grin at each other while admiring our dual attacks' damage. The high orc reaches for its sword and glares at both of us. Maria runs forward and glows bright blue. I follow and veer off to the right again. As she creates an ice wall, I see a shift in the monster's eyes. This will be different. I change my trajectory and watch the events unfold. Shingig. The high orc slices the ice wall in two with ease. It narrowly misses Maria as she dodges to the left. Her eyes open wide with fear. I ignite my sword with flames and run toward the beast as fast as I can. The sudden change in temperature as my flames burn bright catches its attention. Over here, tough guy. It grunts and turns to face me, then charges. Clang. I'm met with the overwhelming force of a much stronger opponent's blade. This time I didn't have much time to dodge. I'm more focused on distracting it from Maria. The monster follows through and pushes my sword back effortlessly, throwing me to the ground and landing a deep gash across my abdomen. I reflexively burst into a ball of flames and the beast shrieks while stepping back. I quickly regenerated the best I can to stop the bleeding and dart away. My status reads 655/1215 HP and 1040/1215 MP. I look around to see Ray still just standing by with her arms crossed and Maria getting to her feet, glowing bright blue 20M behind the orc. I grin. Looks like I'll get to test this out sooner than I thought. Maria and I lock eyes and both start running toward the beast from both directions. Resilient. Even after being totally overpowered, she's able to face off against this monster seconds later without hesitating. I like what I'm seeing. The high orc lets out a roar and focuses its attention on me, then begins to charge. I erupt into a massive ball of flames and follow its lead. With a thick wall of fire surrounding me on every side, I decide it will mask my next move perfectly. Berserker. The flames around me seem to burn darker as I activate my new skill. Power and intense energy surge through my body. It feels like I just took 10 shots of adrenaline mixed with Hudson's strength buff. I feel incredible. I let out a yell and charge forward, covered in a veil of dark flames. All I can see is the enemy in front of me. I have laser focus and feel like a killing machine. The closer I get to the beast, the more tunneled my vision becomes. I jump through the air to let out an attack. Flames trail behind me as I travel faster than ever before. My blade flashes red for a moment as it slices through the high orc's neck like butter. Shing. Thud. Level up. I fly past the beast and land behind it. My flames die down and I deactivate my berserker skill. It's all over so quickly. Maybe that was overkill. Well, whatever. That was rush. I turn around to admire my work. The headless high orc's body still stands upright, with its entire lower body frozen solid. I see Maria 10M away breathing heavily and drinking an MP potion. She locks eyes with me and smiles. 11 more levels. Ray walks over as well. You two work well together. I wasn't expecting it to go that well. I turned to her. Thanks? I think. She laughed. The monster's body disappears and drops a large mana crystal along with a large steel sword. I pick up the sword and use appraisal with 2 blades in hand. Active items. High Orc Sword plus 250 strength. The Flame Emperor's Sword Fire Aspect plus 77% strength plus 29% mental strength. It looks like my sword stats have been raised again. The mental strength went from 28% to 29%. Seems like it only levels up with me when it glows. Interesting. I hand Maria the orc sword and grab the mana crystal off the ground. Hey, try this one on for size. She takes the blade and swings it around. Looks like you can handle a heavy blade now, huh? Maria looks up. Maybe this strength boost makes it a lot easier to swing. I haven't ever felt a sword like this. She keeps swinging it around aimlessly with a grin ear to ear. Ray chimes in. Well, any further and we'll get pretty close to the boss room. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to challenge it today. Maria, how much MP do you have left? 6 more potions. Ray turns to me. What about you, Jay? I'm not sure enough though. Okay, well, I think our best use of time and resources today would be farming around the dungeon's start point. 1 or 2 more fights for Maria would be ideal. Then I guess as many as you can handle, Jay. I nod. Fine, makes sense. How tough is the boss though? Well, I don't think you should face it alone. It's definitely a C-class monster. A dungeon like this being labeled D-class would not slide in the capital. That's for sure. I smirk to myself. Good to know. Maybe we can face it together sometime this week. She looked at Maria and me curiously. Maybe. We all turn around and begin to walk back the way we came. Over the next 4 hours, we circled around the starting portion of the dungeon. Maria faced off against 2 high orcs and gained another 21 levels. She's level 211 now. They both dropped mana crystals, but no weapons. The first fight took 3 MP potions and the second only took 2. Her speed of progression is pretty insane. I faced off against 5 more high orcs. When fighting solo, I can focus more on utilizing my speed and agility to land easier hits. I gained 5 more levels. I'm at 248 now. The orcs all dropped mana, and 1 dropped a mace. I tried to give all my items to Ray. This is a guild-run dungeon after all. My contract is still valid. She let me keep the mace. Apparently, this amount of mana is more than enough to compensate for today. I happily accepted her offer. We all left the dungeon as the sun began to set. Maria spoke up as we made our way down the mountain back toward town. If I train here a few more days, I could hit level 250 this week too. Ray and I both turn to each other. Then look at her. I reply, yeah, you're right. I thought I leveled up fast. Your progression is crazy. Like, this has to be some kind of record. Ray chimes in. Yeah. Honestly, it'd be a good idea for both of you to train together this week. As long as you don't face the boss, power leveling here would be the most efficient use of your time. I turned to Maria. I'm down. How about first thing tomorrow morning? She nods. Let's do it. With that, we walk back into town and report to the guild. There happens to be a class going on in a training room with new student recruits. Maria and Ray both step in to help out. I leave immediately. Helping newbies just isn't my thing. I'm not interested. Food is much higher on my priority list right now. The sun fully sets as I head into town and eat a big meal at a local diner. Next stop, the village market. The streets feel empty compared to the crowded chaos of the capital. As I near the trade area, I hear a familiar voice. Hey! Is that Jay? My old merchant friend recognizes me from a distance. It is. How's business? He nods. Slow recently. I pull out the giant mace from my item box. Well, how about this? Can I speed things up for you? The old merchant's eyes went wide as he examines the mace. Where'd you get this? Some guild-run dungeon around here. Pretty cool, huh? It's incredible. We don't get many items like this around here. At the auction, I'm sure this could go for over 1 gold. But I interrupt. Name your price. I know it'll be way under auction pricing. You have to make a profit too, especially around here. The market must be volatile. He nods. Appreciate it. Would you take 45 silver? I eye the items in the back of the shop. How about 10 MP and 10 HP potions? D-class, if you have that much. His eyes lit up. Sure thing. Right away. The old merchant rummages through the shop storage and comes back with handfuls of potions. I place them all in my item box and shake the merchant's hand. Pleasure doing business with you, old man. Hope I see you again soon. You too, kid. Thank you. I wave and leave. I could have definitely gotten a much better price, but I just wanted to do a good thing. I don't really need the money anyways. After farming Minotaur all week, I'm pretty loaded. With a smile across my face, I make my way back home. Once inside, I take a hot shower and collapse into bed. It's been a long day. Chapter 73. I wake up after a good night of rest and crawl out of bed. There are birds chirping outside to the rising sun. I get dressed and open my door to be immediately greeted by a familiar face. You ready, Jay? Maria is sitting on the upper ledge of the apartment building stairs, resting the new high orc sword across her shoulders. She's smiling and staring at me with her piercing blue eyes. Well, yeah, I am. Good morning to you too, I guess. She laughs. We walk down the apartment building steps and into town. After grabbing a quick breakfast, we head off to the forest near the south side of town. I strike up some conversation on the way. So, how was that class last night? Any promising new recruits? Maria thinks to herself. I can't tell, they were all under level 30. It's pretty hard to gauge their potential, but it was fun. So they were all just average. She looks at me with a curious look. Average? Yeah, average. So many hunters in the world just seem to be average. And no one talks about it. It almost demotivates me to progress sometimes. Don't you think it's a bit crazy for Jack or Ray to just sit around in their positions? To not get stronger? So many people just stop getting stronger. Maria grins. So you want to be the strongest too? We lock eyes. The strongest? Hey, I never said that. We aren't superheroes, you know. It's not like we have to save the world. I just want to become the strongest version of myself and face off against the strongest monsters. So sure, in a roundabout way, maybe I do want to become the strongest. Oomph. What? Whoever kills the most high orcs today is the strongest, okay? Maria blushes but has a serious look on her face. I grin. Sure, I'll take you on. Loser has to buy dinner. How about that? She nods. You're on. We make our way up the heavily wooded mountain and jump through the portal in the dungeon run shack. While staying within 2 kilometers or so of the dungeon entrance, we each farmed high orcs for the next 6 hours. Every 2 hours, we reported back to the dungeon entrance to check up on each other. Maria faced off against 14 opponents and gained 37 levels in total. 9 MP potions had to be used, but by the end of the day, she could one-shot kill the high orcs with a solid magic attack. They dropped 14 mana crystals, 1 mace, and 1 sword. I faced 18 high orcs, gaining 6 levels in total. They dropped 16 mana crystals, 1 mace, and 2 swords. I used 0 potions. Maria is level 248, and I'm level 254 now. We meet back at the dungeon start point for the 3rd time. Hey Jay, I think we should face the boss room together. These regular monsters are getting boring. I smirk. You think you're ready for it? She looks at me with an annoyed stare. Do you think you're ready for it? I laugh. I wouldn't mind a challenge. Ray will kill us if she finds out though. You know this is no joke, right? We'll have to work together flawlessly. I know what a life or death battle is. I'm ready and just won't tell Ray. I can handle myself. She crosses her arms and looks me insight in the eyes. Hey, I'm just making sure we're clear. This isn't going to be a walk in the park. How many potions do you have left? Maria sifts through her item box. For more. That should be enough if we're fighting it together. I nod. Great. I have extra if needed. Maria raises her sword toward the back of the dungeon and stares off into the sky. Let's go. Her eyes seem different than I remember. She's hungry for battle. Something changed in her recently. In my opinion, it's for the better. I raise my sword to match her energy, just like our first day hunting together. Let's go. We walked deep into the dungeon. Only 3 high orcs appeared on our way. I let Maria take them out because she seemed more eager to do so. Each battle was over in an instant. With one touch of her sword, she's able to turn these orcs into frozen white statues that fracture into pieces with a single swing of her blade. It's pretty crazy to consider it took 7 MP potions and half an hour for her to defeat one of them just yesterday. Finally, we make it to the floating gray portal. Without hesitation, we both jump through. The sky is dark orange, almost red. The ground is jet black, completely flat, and goes off in all directions further than I can see. Maria and I stand side by side looking deep into the void. I gulp. This is weird. Yeah. Cautiously, we both walk further into the boss room. About 3 minutes later, a rumbling can be heard in the distance. I use enemy detection and inspect. 200 LV. 258 LV. 259 LV. 259 LV. 260 LV. 260 500 LV. 295 1000 LV. 334. My eyes open wide and I yell to Maria. We have company. There's a pack of 5 coming our way, and more behind them. Maria nods and we both charge forward to meet the enemies. 30 seconds later, we are face to face with 5 dark red glowing high orcs. 3 of them are swinging a mace above their heads and 2 are handling swords. I burst into flames and activate Berserker while veering off to the right towards the 2 sword-wielding orcs. Maria veers off to the left, creating dense ice chunks everywhere she steps to take care of the other 3. I'm able to bob and weave my way through the angry monsters with my speed and agility. They're no better than the normal mobs outside the boss room. Moments later, the 2 sword users are nothing but ash on the ground, while the mace users shatter into 1,000 tiny ice fragments behind us. We look back at our work and grin while locking eyes for a fraction of a second. Then we hear an ear-piercing roar in the distance. A behemoth approaches us from the horizon and I use my inspect skill again along with appraisal. LV. 295. Active items. Steel mace plus 300 strength. Steel sword plus 300 strength. Steel helmet plus 300 defense. Steel chestplate plus 300 defense. Steel wrist guards plus 200 defense. Steel boots plus 100 speed plus 100 agility. Active skills. Berserker. Swordsmanship. This one might put up a decent fight. A massive high orc appears in front of us and draws its huge sword. The beast stands around 5 m tall and has much darker skin than the smaller orcs we just defeated. Its armor is shining silver. It looks very thick and durable. A dark red aura surrounds its body, indicating its berserker is active. Maria and I dart around it, shooting off in opposite directions. She takes the left side and I take the right. While igniting my flames and activating my own berserker skill, I look down at my sword. Since yesterday it hasn't glowed red one time. Still remains black. The massive monster runs towards us, but it's much more fixated on me after my display of flames. The high orc is less than 50 m away. Maria takes advantage of its hyperfixation and circles around behind it. I ready my sword and wait for her to make a move. Moments later, I hear Maria's battle cry, and a bright blue light glows behind the charging monster. A fast-moving sheet of ice creeps up behind its feet and stops it in its tracks 10 m away from me. I use this time to launch my own attack. I dart in and land a fiery slash across the beast's abdomen right under the heavy metal chest plate. I plunder some MP and leave as much fire residue behind as possible. It lets out a roar as I quickly jump out of the way of its own oncoming sword. Crack, crack. I turn around to see the high orc break free from its ice shoes and begin to charge after me. The gash I felt on its front side is visible, but it doesn't seem to be too hurt from it. Shing. From behind, Maria attacks the monster's backside, leaving her own ice residue. It doesn't slow the orc down, but damage is damage. Can't complain. Maria and I weave around in circles to create some distance between us and the boss. The power level gap is about the same as when Maria faced off against an orc for the first time. It won't be easy, but with enough technique and patience, we can beat this thing sooner or later. I yell to Maria, "Hey, make ice walls. Your strategy from yesterday will work." She looks over to me, wiping sweat off her forehead and drinking an MP potion. "I'll need more mana," I reply. "We have the speed advantage here. Follow me. I'll give you some potions." I turn and run. Maria follows. We run further into the dungeon away from the beast. "Here, take these." I take out a handful of MP potions, it's 7 in total. She puts them in her item box. "Thanks. Looks like I'll have to get creative here." "You're right, ice walls it is." We nod and run back in toward the beast. Keeps charging at us like an angry bull. The games begin. Maria charges at the high orc head-on, while I veer off to its right side. She glows bright blue, attracting its attention and making a massive ice barrier.
Boom.
The strategy still works perfectly, even with a boss like this. I grin and run into the massive cloud of ice and snow, using enemy detection to locate the beast's exact location. Shing. As I leave my fiery gash in its lower back, my eyes open wide as I feel the presence of another enemy way too close for comfort. Inspect and enemy detection read out these numbers. 10M. LV.295. 100M. LV. 334. I dart away from the beast to see Maria fly out of the ice cloud on the other side. I yell to her, "There's another one." I scan the area furiously, using enemy detection, appraisal, and inspect all at once in every direction. I can't find it. That other presence just vanished. All I can't detect now is the high orc in front of us. The beast roars and charges at Maria again. She looks at me in confusion, then goes back into battle mode to face the murderous behemoth. I shake my head and run at it as well. It must be further than I imagined. Or, well, I'm not sure what I just imagined. Maria creates another ice wall and we land a dual attack on the high orc again. When we fly out from opposite sides of the ice cloud, the snow dissipates. The orc roars and faces us with its bloodshot eyes. Our slashes are slowly chipping away at its health, but this is definitely going to take a while. It charges and Maria creates another wall of ice. The beast blows the ice barrier into a million pieces and I run straight toward it. I activate inspect and enemy detection. My heart skips a beat. 1M. LV. 334. My vision goes black. I ignite into flames and activate body hardening around all my vital areas. Still, I can't see a thing. I use appraisal. Active items. High Orc Commander's Sword plus 350 strength. High Orc Commander's Armor Set plus 500 defense. High Orc Commander's Ring plus 50% mental strength. Active skills. Dungeon Walker. Intimidation. What is happening? Chapter 74. The darkness around me suddenly dissipated. I can see waves of black and purple energy dissolving all around me to reveal the dungeon's orange sky again. I grip my sword tight and keep all of my skills active while staring down the odd sight before me. This is a completely different section of the boss room. I can sense the presence of Maria and the high orc we were just fighting almost 200m away now. But how? The moment I spoke out loud, a portal appeared about 10m in front of me. It's that same black and purple energy form before. I grit my teeth and point my sword at it as an ominous being walks out slowly. It's a humanoid creature holding a long silver sword and wearing lightweight armor that looks very similar to the high orcs. The only issue here is, this thing doesn't look like the beasts in this dungeon at all. How could it be their commander? The monster in front of me is about 2.5 m tall with dark brown skin and jet black tattoo-like markings across its arms and chest. Horns protrude from its forehead on either side about 20 centimeters. They shine ruby red and wrap around its skull pointing backward. The commander looks at me with no emotion on its face. I can see small black pupils glaring at me, but the rest of its eyes are completely white. Suddenly the monster's pupils shrink and I feel a wave of invisible energy hit me. Sweat runs down the side of my face and the monster begins to walk around me in circles very slowly. I'm frozen with fear. My legs won't move the way my mind tells them to. What is this? Shing. The commander gracefully draws its sword and slashes me across the chest. Blood spurts everywhere and I take a huge deep breath in as the pain releases me from this trance. I jump backward, regenerating my wound and igniting my body into flames. My status reads 855/1275 HP and 1120/1275 MP. The monster slowly circles around looking at me with its calm white eyes. Then a wave of fear hits me again.
I'm frozen.
It's like prey caught in the gaze of a far superior predator. All the possibilities and strategies of battle are rushing through my head. But for some reason, my body won't react. It's like I'm stunned, completely helpless until the spell is released. It charges forward. Shing. Again, the sword cuts deep into my abdomen. Blood pours out and I'm released from the curse. I jump backward, regenerating while coughing up blood. I glare at the beast while checking my status again. It reads 435/1275 HP and 1110/1275 MP. I tightly grip my blade and start to run at it, but am stopped dead in my tracks moments later by a wave of fear. Shing. A clean shot to my neck. My eyes open wide as I fall to my knees. The commander watches over me calmly. Blood pours out as I desperately regenerate and grab an HP potion from my item storage. My status reads out 15/1275 HP and 1090/1275 MP moments before I chug my healing potion. This must be his skill. Intimidation. I stand to my feet just to be hit with another wave. Shing. Its sword plunges straight through my stomach and I gasp for breath as blood flows out of my mouth. Again, I jump back and regenerate to the best of my ability. Another wave. Shing. Another wave. Shing. I'm trapped in its loop of spells over and over. I struggle to get to my feet while drinking another HP potion. It wants to defeat me mind and body at this point. This is torture. I yell out in pain. Frustration and fear of my own come over me. These feelings aren't forced by its intimidation. This is raw emotion that I haven't felt in a while. I'm facing an opponent, and I have no way to win. My body is becoming weak. There are only so many HP potions and regenerations I can handle. My endurance and fatigue can't withstand being on the brink of death too many more times. I let out a yell as I stare down at the emotionless beast in front of me. I activate Berserker and run at it full force. Then, I'm hit by its intimidation wave once again. Shing. Another slash across the torso forces me back down to the ground. I jump away the moment I regain mobility and regenerate. I let out another yell and turn Berserker back on. Waves of fear, fatigue, frustration, and anger are all compounded every time I'm hit with intimidation. Shing. It lands another bloody slash across my chest. I can't even feel the pain anymore. The only thing on my mind is killing this monster, by any means necessary. I don't even bother regenerating. I just need to land a hit for my own sanity. I turn and run after the creature while glowing dark red, covered in flames and screaming with rage. My blade begins to glow red with me. A devious grin appears across my face as I feel power seep into my veins. My vision tunnels just like it did before, and the dark red aura of my Berserker skill begins to mix with the ego of my sword, erupting into even darker red flames. The commander turns, and I see its pupils shrink. I'm hit with a wave of intimidation, but this time I break through. With a battle cry, I nullify its mental attack and continue charging straight toward it. The commander's face finally changes. The monster's eyes open wide, then it grins. I jump in the air, swinging my blade directly at the monster's neck. My sword begins to glow brighter and brighter the closer I get. I let out another yell as I swing my sword at its unguarded neck. Shingig. I make contact. The blade hits the commander's neck and I see the glint of red blood. Then dark purple and black swirls of energy form all around us. WHOSHHH. The commander is gone. My sword slices through the open air. Immediately, I use enemy detection while planting my right foot and turning around. This must be its other skill, Dungeon Walker. It's some kind of movement magic. Another black and purple portal appears 10 m away from me, and the commander steps out, pointing its sword straight ahead. There's a small scratch on its neck, dripping blood. That's all I needed for a boost of spirit. I'm back in this thing. Bring it on. I point my sword at the monster as well, declaring the start of our real match. With my flames burning hot and my sword glowing red, we both charge at each other. Clang. Our swords clash and we both grin at each other with malicious intent. Two monsters begin a battle to the death. I jump back and it does the same. We both assessed each other's physical strength and abilities. Our speed and agility is very similar due to my natural boost and boots. Our strength is also very similar as well. That is, it's similar when I'm using Berserker. All that leaves is defense and mental strength. Its armor is much better than mine. It most likely has me beat in defense stats, but I have a ton more HP potions, so it shouldn't matter that much. It'll all come down to a battle of abilities. We stare each other down again from about 10 m away. Then we both charge. Shing. The moment I step forward it does too, but into a portal of darkness appearing less than a meter behind me, stabbing a blade right through my back. I cough up blood as the monster dodges my counterswing and runs back to a safe position. While regenerating, I chug an HP potion and keep my eyes locked on the savage. Didn't see that one coming. It grins and grunts while charging at me again. I return the favor. Every 10 seconds or so I'm hit with a wave of intimidation. It's getting easier and easier to fend them off. My theory is I'm getting more focused on battle, and my sword's ego combined with my own makes us stronger than before. My mind cannot be controlled. Shing. I'm hit with another blade in the center of my back and fall to my knees. My movements, on the other hand, it's definitely controlling those right now. I activate enemy detection and regenerate while facing the beast again. Focus. We charge at each other. I'm fully prepared for an attack from the rear this time. It won't fool me again. Clang. I turn at the last moment and block the commander's blade. Takes a step back and disappears into another portal. My eyes scanned the entire dungeon around me. It's nowhere in sight. Berserker is heightening my senses and enemy detection is scanning the area constantly for any sign of life. Seconds later, I feel a sharp pain from behind in my lower thigh. Hit me again. The moment I sensed it and turned to counter, it was already too late. I'm milliseconds off, just a little more speed, and I could have blocked it. I collapsed to the ground. The monster towers over me for a moment while pulling out the blade and jumping backward. I regenerate, drink an MP and HP potion, then stand to my feet. I need to be a little faster. Somehow, again, it disappears into thin air and appears seconds later to slash the back of my legs. Just learning how to outthink me more and more. Every new attack is hitting non-vital areas, it's just wearing me out. Sometimes I can guess where it will attack and get a lucky block in, but other times it comes out of nowhere and leaves a deep gash. This commander loves to play with its prey. My legs, arms, torso, back, and even feet are getting slashed to pieces. Over and over. It goes on for over 5 minutes straight as I continue to regenerate and attempt to block its attacks. I drink another 3 HP potions and 1 MP. My Berserker skill, flames, and enemy detection are still active. My blade keeps glowing brighter and brighter, but it's useless if I can't even land a hit. I'm exhausted, fatigued, frustrated, and scared. But for some reason, excitement still flows through my veins. Even in a time like this, I'm still grasping onto a glimmer of hope and enjoying the rush of battle. Each time the commander appears, I get another try at increasing my reaction speed. I'm almost there. It's just outpacing me by fractions of a second every time. The monster disappears into its dark cloud again, and I activate enemy detection. The boss room goes completely silent. All of a sudden, I feel a large presence in the distance fade away, then hear a familiar ringing sound in my head. Level up, 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 level up. I leveled up 12 times. Did Maria beat the boss? Wait, if that was the dungeon boss, then what is dash? Clang. At the last moment, I sense a sword appear behind me and turn to block it. Perfect clash, I block it on instinct alone this time. I meet the gaze of a surprised commander. It thought that was a surefire hit. I grin. Normal mobs in dungeons don't share EXP with all the hunters in a boss room unless an individual does a majority of the damage. The perk of equal EXP sharing without damage regulations only applies to the boss itself. That means this commander is definitely not the boss. It shouldn't even be here at all. This is an entity from another dungeon that must have taken control. Should I even call it a high orc commander anymore? It's more like a demon. Chapter 75. The demon looks me in the eyes as our swords clash. I grit my teeth and watch the sparks fly. I use Plunderer while releasing a wave of flames through my blade toward the monster. It lets out a wave of intense intimidation as we test each other's limits. My flames glow hot, illuminating the area around us. I burst into a massive ball of fire, pushing the monster backward while burning its chest and arms. It lets out a roar and disappears into a dark portal behind it. I smirk. This is the first time during our battle I've had the upper hand. I sense a presence behind me and swiftly turn to block the incoming blade. We lock eyes again as sparks fly. I use its own mana against it. While refreshing my own MP up to full, I release another wave of flames and lunge forward. It gets slightly burned but disappears into a dark portal once again. We clash blades over and over for another full minute. I manage to land minor burns from my flames, but our swordsmanship, strength, and speed are completely equal. One wrong move for either of us and the other will be critically injured. Every time the demon appears I block and attempt to counter, but it's too crafty. The moment my blade touches its skin, it disappears into a void of darkness. I scan the area around me and wait. It's time to turn it up a notch. I'm gonna try something different this time. I sense a blade appear behind me, but purposefully don't turn around to block it. The sharp metal sword slices deep into my back and out through my stomach on the other side. I would have definitely darted away or blocked in any normal circumstance, but this is part of my plan. Body hardening. Black crystals form around the exit and entrance wounds. I feel the monster attempt to pull its sword free, but it's stuck inside me. I grin and twist my body while swinging my sword at the demon's neck. Its eyes open wide with fear. Shing. It's a hit. A deep fiery gash appears on the monster's throat, and it shrieks while falling backward into a black portal. I rip out its sword from my stomach and fall to my knees. Blood gushes out as my vision starts to fade. I regenerate and struggle to grab one more HP potion. While shaking my head and chugging the potion, I slowly stand to my feet, regaining full consciousness. A hand appears from the void and grabs the bloody sword off the ground while I regain my strength. Seconds later, it appears from a portal behind me. This is it. I stare down at my bright red glowing sword and concentrate every last bit of MP I can into the blade. Berserker is active, and my body is covered in dark red flames. With a yell, I spin my body toward the danger and go in for the kill. Arr! I feel its blade sink into my stomach as I turn, but I pierce its chest as well. My sword glows brightly as it releases all my flames deep into the demon's heart. I suck it dry of mana using Plunderer while burning its body to a crisp. Both of us let out a final battle cry as it attempts to lift its blade. Again, I use body hardening to stop it in its tracks while continuing to plunge my fiery blade deeper and deeper. A portal appears behind the monster, but it's much more transparent than before. The dark purple magic is beginning to fade. It can't escape. Moments later, our battle is finally over. I fall to my knees with exhaustion as the charred body of the demon falls to the ground in front of me. Level up, 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 level up. Use absorption. Skill Dungeon Walker. Yes. No. Use absorption. Skill Intimidation. Yes. No. I choose yes on both and open my status. Status open. Name J Soj. Level 290. HP 375/1455. MP 890/1455. Strength 702 plus 597 plus 351. Speed 836 plus 502. Agility 865. Defense 626 plus 250 minus 157. Mental strength 702 plus 140 plus 288. Skills: absorption, swordsmanship, combat magic, fire summoning, inspect, special grade, enemy detection, body hardening, special grade, self-regeneration, spatial magic, item storage, plunder, telekinesis, appraisal, special grade, conceal, dungeon walker, intimidation, items equipped, golden wolf ring, plus 20% mental strength, cyclops eye pendant, plus 40% defense, dark elf boots, plus 60% speed, the flame emperor's sword, fire aspect, plus 85% strength, plus 41% mental strength, buffs, plus 50% strength, increased endurance/alertness, debuffs, dash 25% defense. With a grin, I collapse forward onto the corpse of the demon. A white light appears before the body has time to disappear. I'm transported back to the dungeon's starting point. Jay? Hello? Can you hear me? I open my eyes to see Maria standing over me with a concerned look on her face. It turns into a smile as I sit up. You disappeared all of a sudden. Where'd you even go? I had to fight the boss all by myself. I was worried. She looks down at me. I sift through my item box to find another HP potion. Well, it seems there was another boss in that room. I took care of it. Barely. She watches me curiously as I drink my potion and sigh with relief while standing to my feet. There's no point in telling her what happened right now. I'll keep the details to myself. I'm glad you're okay, Jay. Anyways, I had a fun time beating that boss. Took me only 5 MP potions. I went up a ton of levels too. I grin. Yeah, I had a good time too. But I'm definitely done for the day. Let's get out of here. She nods. We leave the dungeon and start making our way down the mountain. I'm breathing heavily as we walk. My body is really exhausted. Half an hour later, we make it back to the guild. Ray and Jack are both standing around talking with new guild recruits in a training room. We decide to pop in and say hi to report our results in training today. We're back. Maria jumps in the room and I follow close behind. Jack walks over to us. How'd it go? Have any good loot for us? We emptied our item boxes to dump out a pile of mana crystals and a few weapons onto the floor. Jack turns around. Hey, come take a look at these, Arnold. One of the new recruits walks over and starts touching the swords. His eyes open wide and he looks up at us through thick-framed glasses. These are borderline C-class swords. Jack grins, then looks at Maria and me. Good work. I assume that means you two managed to surpass level 250 today? I've already sent out both of your applications either way. I nod. Maria smiles wide. Yep. I'm level 264 now. Ray does a double take, then leans in. You two didn't fight the boss, did you? Maria covered her mouth with her hands and blushes, turning to me. I nod while grinning. I guess it would have come out sooner or later. Yeah, we did. Jack and Ray look at each other, then back at us. They look concerned, but proud at the same time. Ray speaks up. Well, as long as you can handle it.
I'm impressed.
That High Orc commander is a tough one. That beast is huge. I guess you two don't need me for training anymore. Maria nods while I think to myself. Her words confirmed my suspicions from earlier. My opponent wasn't the regular boss. It was an outsider. But how? I look up. Are there any more dungeons like that around here? Jack laughs. I'm afraid not. That's our only loophole dungeon. Usually it takes months to master that one. You two have some scary progress speed. You'll have to wait until you have C-class clearance to dive into any stronger dungeons. Sorry. Well, okay. I look at the ground and a wave of fatigue hits me as my stomach gurgles. I'm hungry, tired, and need some alone time to think about what happened today. In that case, I'll be heading out. See ya. I turn to leave and Maria speaks up. Want to train again tomorrow? I nod. Sure. You know where to find me. She chuckles as I wave goodbye to everyone and walk out the door. Chapter 76. On my way home, I grab a bite to eat and stroll around Alpine Park for a while to think about the monster I just faced. It wasn't the dungeon boss, that's for sure. My only guess is it was a random mutant spawn, or has something to do with this skill. Dungeon Walker. I'm leaning toward the latter. As I ponder, I come across the old starter dungeon portal. This is the Goblin Dungeon where I started my journey as a hunter. I grin and jump through. The fresh air, green grass, and blue skies are pretty nostalgic. I walk into the dungeon and admire the beautiful view around me. After 10 minutes or so of wandering, a goblin appears. I use Inspect and Appraisal. LV. Active items. Goblin Dagger plus 5 strength. Active skills. None. I laugh and watch the mini green man run toward me with determination across its face. This is the perfect time for me to test out my new skills. Intimidation. The goblin stops in its tracks and its eyes roll back into its head. Its little green knees buckle and it falls to the dungeon floor. I slowly walk around the creature examining it, then turn the monster into a pile of ash moments later. I guess a stronger opponent would have been a better use of the skill, but at least I've learned how to use it properly for the future. Now it's time for Dungeon Walker. I stare forward and concentrate. Instantly, a black and purple swirling portal appears in front of me. I slowly step inside. Everything's dark, just like when that demon transported me before. I concentrate harder. All of a sudden, I start to visualize all kinds of familiar places in my mind. These are other dungeons. In my mind's eye, I can see the distinct landscapes of every dungeon I've ever been to. It's incredible but a bit overwhelming at the same time. There are so many pathways connecting every step I've ever taken inside every dungeon. It's like a massive map. I gulp, then visualize the Minotaur dungeon from the capital. It's crystal clear in my mind. I focus, then step through. My eyes open wide as I take in the landscape of the Minotaur dungeon all around me. I can teleport to any dungeon I've ever stepped foot in. I check my status and am very surprised to see my MP read 955/1455. One jump took over 1/3 of my mana. While concentrating again, a dark swirling portal appears in front of me. I step inside and visualize a dungeon nearby, the Slime Dungeon. Just like that, I step out into the grassy plain and check my status. It reads 865/1455 MP. Interesting, closer jumps take much less MP. I visualize the area 50M in front of me, then create a portal to jump through. Moments later, I step out on the other side to check my status. It reads 855/1455 MP. I grin. Looks like this new skill is all figured out. It'll be even more useful than I imagined. This saves a ton of time for traveling. Plus, this finally explains where that demon came from. Well, at least it explains how it got to another dungeon in the first place. I use Dungeon Walker to teleport back to the Alpine dungeon and walk out with a satisfied smile across my face. It's been a successful day. I walk home, shower, and sleep like a rock. The next morning, I wake up fully refreshed and step out the door. Morning, Jay. You ready? I smile at Maria. Sure am. Let's go. This began our hunting extravaganza. Over the next week, we defeated the High Orc dungeon over a dozen times. In total, we took down 198 High Orcs with levels ranging from 240 to 260. They dropped 7 maces and 11 swords, plus tons of mana crystals. These were all added to the guild's training supplies. We took down the real High Orc commander boss 21 times. Its level ranged from 285 to 295. One time, it dropped an Orc commander's ring. It's the same one that Demon was wearing. We gave it to the guild, as per our contract. For all 21 battles, that demon was nowhere in sight. That solidifies my theory, it was 100% from another dungeon. We had a good time. Although beating the same dungeon boss got boring after a day or two, I learned to fight in tandem with Maria pretty well. We focused more on working together and reading each other's movements, using the boss as our punching bag. The only skills I used with her were Berserker, Flame Combat Magic, and Swordsmanship. I guess I trust her, but there still hasn't been a good time to let her know about my other skills. Maybe I won't ever have to. By the end of the week, Maria and I both reached level 297. It seems we can't level up any higher in this dungeon. Saturday morning, I roll out of bed with a yawn and step out the door before the sun even rises. We all agreed to meet at the guild first thing in the morning to get on the train to the capital together. Morning, Jay. You ready? Morning, Maria. Yep. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. How about you? She smiles. Oh, I'm so ready. We make our way over to the guild. Once we walk through the front doors, I see Jack and Ray standing in the lobby waiting. Sorry if we made all of you wait too long. Jack smiles. No problem at all, we'll be right on time for the train. Got everything you need. I check my item box and feel my pockets, then nod. Maria does the same. Jack speaks. Well, great. Let's head out. We all followed in agreement. I could have easily slept in. Teleporting to the capital would have been a piece of cake. It would just be kind of hard to explain. Screech. All aboard. We board the train and pile into the private guild room. Maria and I sit on one side while Jack and Ray sit on the other. I speak up as the train starts to move. So, Ray, what's this exam really going to be like anyways? Everything I've tried to read about it seems to make me even more confused. It seems like this whole test is a mystery. She nods. Well, you're right. It is a bit of a mystery. Every time the exam is taken, the Hunters Association mixes things up. Back when I took the test, we all had to defeat a series of private Hunter Association-run dungeons in a specific time frame, sometimes solo and sometimes with teammates. There were representatives watching us every step of the way. I've heard from others that past exams were totally different. Maria and I look at each other, then back at Ray. So we'll be able to work as a team? Exactly. It'd be in your best interest to work together. Other guilds have definitely created teams to succeed in the exams. Entering as a small guild like us has its disadvantages. You two are pretty over-leveled though. The exam may be hard, but I know you're up for the challenge. I nod. What kind of dungeons did you face? Ray grins and shakes her head. It doesn't matter. As I said before, it's different every time. There's no point in thinking about it until the test actually starts. It's impossible to prepare. You just have to be a competent hunter and take on the challenge in front of you. Maria and I nod. Well, thanks. Great motivational speech. I look out the window and watch the buildings fly by. I didn't mean for my response to come out that sarcastic. Hey, Shuklis. You're welcome. The train continues to bring us closer and closer to the capital. I'm starting to shake with excitement. Today is the day of the C-Class exams. Chapter 77. Screech. The train finally makes it to the capital as the sun rises. We all walk out onto the platform and take in the view of a busy market. It looks like everyone's in high spirits today. I follow Jack through the market as the hunters and merchants go about their daily business dealings. We make our way toward the Hunters Association's main headquarters in the city. Once we arrive in the general vicinity, large crowds start forming. Jack spoke up with a grin. Looks like we're in the right place. There's a slow line that has formed entering the main building. We got in and stood patiently. There are all kinds of people waiting beside us. Ray starts pointing at some of them and explaining a few things. See those four there? It looks like they're a group of 3 hunters and a guild master pretty similar to us. Groups like this will be the most common. I use Inspect. LV 361. LV 254. LV 252. LV 251. The level 361 is an old man with short gray hair, light skin, and dressed in a formal suit. The other 3 seem to be your average-looking hunters with decent gear. It's your run-of-the-mill steel swords and steel armor adding 200 plus or so stats for each stat category. Some of it is battle-worn, but it does the trick. They're definitely from a small-town guild like us. Ray points at another group. See them over there? It seems that group of 5 is from the Hunters Association. You can tell by their gear. I use Inspect. LV 250. LV 250. LV 250. LV 250. LV 250. They're all exactly level 250. And Ray is right. Their armor is all lightweight steel and exactly the same style with dark bodysuits underneath. That's the association for you, predictable and organized. Ray points behind us as a group of 7 arrives. The crowd moves out of the way to let them get in line behind us. She whispers to us in a low voice. It seems a party from the Big 3 has arrived. These guys are no joke. One of the Viridian Guild teams is here. I use Inspect. LV 544. LV 269. LV 267. LV 266. LV 266. LV 265. LV 263. This team is being led by a B-class hunter. They are no joke. All of their gear looks brand new. There are 2 big tanks and for smaller hunters with them that look like some kind of sword or combat types, but none have their weapons drawn. They're all wearing matching dark green raid suits underneath their shining armor. Some of it is percent-based, other pieces are 300 plus stat boost. This is some serious gear, definitely funded by a top guild. As we move further and further up the line, Ray pointed to one last team of 3. Looks like there's a wild card team. Look, it speaks for itself. I use Inspect. LV 288. LV 271. LV 259. I examined the 3 massive men Ray pointed out. They were all tattooed head to toe and wore unusual gear. One wore a heavy steel chest plate with 500 plus defense. His only skill is body hardening. He must be the tank. Another man had a dark cloak on with a 50% speed buff. I've never seen his skill before, but it's self-explanatory extreme speed. He must be some kind of rogue. The last teammate was just a swordsman, but he wore an assortment of rings. The tattoo on his right hand had a dark snake with red eyes. Ray spoke up again as we neared the door. They're an independent party. You have to apply through the Hunters Association directly if you're not guild associated. Pretty rare, but not impossible to see. They aren't with a guild master, we can assume they're self-submissions. Occasionally a group of nobles will apply as an independent party as well. We haven't seen any of them yet though. Looks like this exam will be an interesting one. I nod slowly. Looks like it. We enter through the front door. There's a long table in front of us with 2 middle-aged men in black suits standing in front of it. The one on the left has short brown hair, blue eyes, and a clean-shaven face. He spoke up. Guild name. Jack steps forward. We're from the Pace Guild. Our 2 applicants are Jay Soju and Maria Cortez. The man nods and sifts through a notepad. May I see your IDs and status screens? Jack nods and turns to us. I activate conceal as I reach into my item box to take out my hunter's ID. Maria takes hers out as well, and we both hand over our cards to the man. He examines both of them as I open my status and begin to edit it furiously. Moments later, he hands us our cards back and we both show him our blue screens. I left everything exactly the same except for my skill section. I deleted everything except for swordsmanship and my fire combat magic. His eyes still lit up and he laughed. Level 297? Nice. There are a couple of guilds over-leveling this time around. I guess it's just a trend recently. Well, looks like you two are in the clear. Go see Rodrigo to get fully checked in. He points to a man sitting at the long table behind him in the center of the lobby. Jack and Ray's body language both change. They seem on edge. We walk over to the table and the man behind it stands up to greet us with a deep voice. Welcome. As he stands, I start to understand why Ray and Jack were acting so off. This man is powerful. I sense an unusual, yet familiar presence emanating off of him. He's over 190 centimeters tall, with olive skin, long jet black hair, and a short, sharp beard. His eyes are too light. They're almost white. All of his fingers are covered in gold rings with assorted gemstones. And to top it off, his suit is bright red with black accents. I use inspect and my jaw drops. LV 1391. He speaks. My name is Rodrigo. I'm the A-class hunter on special order from the Hunters Association. I will be in charge of your exam today. I gulp. Nice to meet you. He smiles. Please, may I see both of your left hands? Maria and I do as he says. He hovers his hands above ours and I see up his sleeve for a split second. I make out a solid black tattoo in a thick line that runs all the way up his left arm. A bright light flashes for a moment, then it fades out. I look down at my wrist to see a thin silver bracelet. Maria has one too. He nods. These will be necessary for the first part of your exam. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Hopefully we meet again. He gestures to the door on our left and all four of us leave without saying a word. Once we're through and begin to walk down a narrow hallway, we all let out sighs of relief. Ray speaks up. That was something all right. I wasn't expecting to meet an A-class today. That was my first time. Jack looks over at her. Mine too. They must be testing out something new with this exam to ask an A-class to make the journey out to the Vice region. I step in. So, that's an A-class. Maria grins. He was so cool. We all stare at her blankly for a second, then laugh together while continuing to walk through a hallway. We approach a door with two more men in black suits. There are large wooden crates lining the walls beside them. One of them speaks up. Show us your wrists. Maria and I look at each other, then raise our left hands. He nods. All right. Take off your item boxes. I look at him with confusion. He replies, outside healing items will not be permitted in the exam. Only the gear on your body and in your hands may enter this room. Necessary HP and MP potions will be provided by the Hunters Association. We nod. I reach into my item box and pull out my sword. I don't really have much else in my item box. All my money and interesting items are in my item storage anyways. Nobody has to know about that. We hand our item boxes to Jack. He smiles. They're in safe hands. The guard nods as we turn back towards him. He reaches into a crate and grabs two new item boxes. Take these. They're full with 5 HP and 5 MP potions each. Use them wisely. We accept the items and put them on. He speaks up again. Only you two are allowed inside. Jack nods. All right, good luck you two. It's a private event. We'll be waiting on the outside to hear the good news. Ray speaks up as well. Best of luck, even though you don't need it. With a smile and a wave, they both turn to leave. We walk through the next set of doors into a wide-open room. The hum of mana shields is loud, and there are white walls all around us. The room is about 50 m long and 30 m wide. It has a small stage and podium at the back with no one behind it. Hunters are everywhere. There are over 200 in this crowded space already, and more are piling in. We walk further into the room together. The exam is about to begin. Chapter 78. We walk into the large white-walled room. Hunters of all kinds are standing around talking within their guilds. I can see a massive group from the Hunters Association with well over 50 people in identical outfits. We walk by them closer to the stage. Then I hear my name being called out. Jay? Is that you? I turn to see a familiar face pop out from behind two large tanks. A short woman with bright green eyes and matching fluorescent green hair runs toward me. She's wearing the dark-colored Hunters Association raid suit and minimal armor. I stare forward in disbelief. Abby! She jumps up in the air smiling. Who would have thought? I haven't seen you in a while. I can't believe you're already level 250. And, you too? Abby points at Maria. She smiles hesitantly and nods. Then Abby continues to talk. It's a pretty big turnout today. I heard they made a last-second change to the exam because of the recent surge in the city. Exciting, isn't it? She looked at me wide-eyed. I smiled and opened my mouth to reply. Then a tall blonde swordsman and a thin black-haired mage appear behind Abby. They're both very light-skinned and have serious looks on their faces. Hey, Abby, this is our competition, you know. Don't tell them all our secrets. Abby rolls her eyes playfully. Jay, these are my teammates for the first part of the exam. Meet Connor and Dasha. We may be competing later on, but it can't hurt to be friendly now. She grins and looks at us. The swordsman and mage scoff, then turn around. Connor speaks up. The exam is about to begin. Finish up with your little friends and come join us when you're ready. They turn and leave. Abby stays. I think they're just nervous about making a good impression and passing the exam. Usually they're pretty nice people. Don't mind them. I nod. Looks like everyone is on edge around here. We look around as more people enter the crowded room. Hunters are fidgeting and arguing all around us. It's definitely a rather tense environment. Abby speaks. Well, anyways, I hope we meet again during the event. Possibly as allies, not enemies. See ya, Jay. Oh, and nice seeing you again, Maria. Just like that, she hops away into the crowd of Hunters Association minions. I kinda wanted to talk longer and ask her a few things, but I guess that's not happening. Maria finally talks. You know Abby well? Yeah, I guess. We used to train together. That is until I joined the Pace Guild and took leveling seriously. I still don't know much about her. She seems nice enough, though. Maria nods. We continue to weave our way through the crowd closer to the podium. Once we finally got within 5 m or so, a commotion arose. Two men from different parties were yelling at each other loudly. They both seemed to be their party leaders. One is a tall, muscular man with short black hair, heavy silver armor, and a long sword. The other is a tall, thin man with long brown hair and two black daggers. The swordsman's voice is loud and deep. He seems to be yelling at the dagger user for taking to one of the female mages on his team. After 3 or 4 verbal exchanges back and forth, they begin full-blown yelling at each other for no reason. Everyone backs up and starts forming a small circle as they grit their teeth and stare each other down. The brown-haired man starts to glow light gray and gets into a half-squatting stance with his daggers held in attack mode by his side. The swordsman begins to glow light green as he points his long silver blade at the man in front of him and yells out, "You really want this? I'll kill ya before this exam even starts." The dagger user grins. "Bring it on, tough guy." They both yell and run toward each other with their weapons drawn. I can't believe it. They're really starting a fight in here. Click. A bright light flashes from the back of the room as the door opens. I'm blinded for a fraction of a second. Once the light fades, I'm hit with a wave of shock, then can't help grinning with excitement. The dagger user and the swordsman have stopped dead in their tracks. Both of them have their weapons less than a meter away from each other's necks. The only thing stopping them is Rodrigo. The tall, olive-skinned man is standing in between their blades, stopping both of them with a single index finger on each hand. He's staring straight ahead with a blank look on his face. That's enough. Instantly, the two men drop their blades and bow their heads. Rodrigo nods and slowly walks through the crowd toward the podium. It's silent. The only thing making noise are the footsteps of our exam master's black shiny shoes as he gets on stage. The crowd slowly moves toward the podium as he looks out at all of us with his emotionless white eyes. Welcome. We have closed the entrance. Everyone in this room will be attending the C-class exams. The crowd watches attentively. We have all met briefly on your way in, but just to remind you all, I will introduce myself. My name is Rodrigo Morales. I've been an A-class hunter in the association for 8 years now. I will be the only instructor for your exam today. The audience starts murmuring to each other. I look at Maria. She looks back at me and whispers, "It's really starting." I grin. "It really is." Rodrigo continues. "If you would all look to the back of the room, you'll see 40 C-class and above hunters from the association that will be monitoring your progress and reporting back to me. They are all wearing yellow armbands. If you need help or have questions during the exam, feel free to track them down." The whole audience turns their heads to see a long line of hunters in the back of the room. You're all here because you've made it this far already. Level 250 is a big achievement in the world of hunters, but progressing further is a much greater challenge. The dungeons in your future will be nothing like the ones you've faced before. That's why we have this exam. It is a rite of passage. If you can pass, then you're ready to continue your journey. If you fail, you may always come back and take it again. Let's see. Raise your hand if this is your first time taking the exam. Maria and I raise our hands, then slowly look around the room. To my surprise, there aren't as many people raising their hands as I thought there would be. That seems about right. This year we have 348 applicants from around the entire Vice region. 96 of them are first-time applicants. Overall, the association has submitted 71 applicants, the Big Three submitted 64, 44 smaller guilds have submitted 172, and there are 41 independents. This is a record-high number of applicants in the Vice region. This only means our exam will be even more strict. It will consist of 3 tests. You must pass all 3. If you fail one test, you fail the entire exam. Less than 1/3 of you will be walking away with a C-class certification. The crowd began to murmur again. Without further ado, I will explain the rules of our first test. Please everyone look down at your left wrist. If you do not have a silver bracelet on, speak up or leave this room immediately. Silence fills the room. Great. These bracelets have been crafted with my unique skill, along with the help of a friend. They will be a vital part of our first test. Each bracelet has 2 extra lives stored inside it. This means the magic item will absorb all the damage that your body would normally take in from a fight. Once your HP reaches 0, the bracelet reverses the physical effects on your body and teleports you in full health back to a starting point that I've already set. Understood. The entire crowd talks amongst themselves for a few seconds with confused expressions. I will demonstrate how it works. All of a sudden, Rodrigo raises his left hand and a blinding white light fills the room. I feel extremely hot for a fraction of a second and almost cry out in agony. But then the pain is gone moments later. The white light fades and I can't believe my eyes. The ground beneath me is made of stone slabs and I can see a bright blue sky as I look up. There are large green trees and mountains in the distance. Right in front of me, there are over 300 hunters confused and dazed taking in their surroundings as well. I hear Rodrigo's voice and see him standing on top of a large boulder with a floating green portal in front of it. Now, you all have 1 extra life remaining. Clicks in my head. He just killed us all. Instantly, I gulp. He continues. Due to the recent surges in the capital, many unique dungeons have been popping up in the wilderness just outside the city. One of the most unique ones is this brand new labyrinth. I gasped and stared at the glowing portal with wide open eyes. With permission from the Hunters Association and my surveillance, our exam will be taking place inside. Your first test will be defeating the boss on floor 10 within 48 hours. The maximum number of hunters allowed to pass this first test is 200. I will be waiting on floor 11 to begin the next stage. The audience of hunters went wild. First of all, the shock of literally dying and instantly being brought kilometers away from the city is a lot to comprehend. But also, the fact that our exam is being held in a labyrinth. This is a pretty big deal. Rodrigo speaks up again. For those of you that aren't familiar with labyrinths, let me give you a quick refresher. Once entering the labyrinth, you will be transported into a normal-looking dungeon. Most of the time, the starting dungeons are lower E-ranked. Every time you defeat a dungeon, the boss room will spawn you up to the next floor. We call them floors to keep it simple, but they are just dungeons that progressively increase in difficulty. The easiest dungeon is floor 1, and the floor numbers raise as the difficulty increases. Once you challenge a boss, you cannot leave through any portals. You either defeat it or it defeats you. If you'd like to return to the outside world while in the normal labyrinth, you may take the exit portal on each floor that leads to the floor below. These will appear at the start point of each dungeon, and when walked through they will spawn you back in front of the boss room portal of the previous lower floor. The entire audience listens attentively. As I said before, you have 48 hours to complete the first 10 floors and meet me on floor 11. If 200 of you make it before the 48 hours is up, then our timer will be cut short. Killing and sabotaging other hunters is allowed. Each player has 1 extra life. Your silver bracelets will transport you back to this very spawn point outside the dungeon. It may be in your best interest to sabotage other hunters on the higher floors so they have to waste time climbing the labyrinth again. Killing hunters without an extra life is allowed, but may be frowned upon. It will not guarantee a failing score, but will be taken into consideration for your hunting profile. With that being said, anyone that loses their bracelet, know that you are risking your life to become a hunter. If you're not ready, you may leave at any time. This is all part of the exam. Only the strong will move on. I looked over at Maria. She looked at me as well. We both gripped our swords tight. I have also placed a few gifts on varying floors along the way. There isn't nearly enough for all of you, but I'm sure those of you that find my presence will find them helpful. He grins. There is no minimum or maximum team size requirement for this first test. Get to the 11th floor by any means necessary. Form your teams and get in a line facing me. Everyone lines up in a surprisingly orderly fashion. Maria and I managed to squeeze in near the front, probably in one of the top 20 positions. Once the last person enters the portal, the timer will begin. I wish you all the best of luck. Meet you on the 11th floor. Rodrigo steps back into the portal and disappears. The line begins to move forward rapidly as everyone runs through after him. Moments later, Maria and I jump through the green portal ourselves. We enter the labyrinth. Chapter 79. Test 1. Time remaining 48 hours. Maria and I jump through the portal and enter a grassland dungeon. I can see 10 or so parties in front of us splitting off in all directions. Not many people are using magic. They must be trying to conserve it for later. We sprint forward and dive deep into the dungeon. The grass is short, and there are patches of pink, yellow, and blue flowers. Occasional trees pop up into view, but they seem to be pretty rare. After about 5 minutes of running, I hear a deep voice yelling out from behind us. "Hey, you two, stop right there." Maria and I turn our heads to see a massive bearded man chasing after us with a steel chest plate and an enormous silver sword. There are 2 shorter men behind him carrying swords as well. He keeps yelling, "My first victims, come here." His eyes are bloodshot and his teeth are showing through a malicious smile. I take one look at Maria. She's grinning ear to ear. I nod. We stop running and turn to the group of men chasing us. Maria runs forward at them and begins to glow bright blue. It's over in a matter of seconds. She runs through them all, leaving trails of ice in her tracks. With a single touch of her blade, they're all frozen solid instantly. She turns to me and laughs. The leader still has an angry look on his face with his mouth wide open mid-yell as he points his sword high in the air. He's petrified in ice, standing upright with his dedicated followers frozen close behind him. They never saw it coming. I say we let them thaw out on their own. I laugh back at her. Good idea. Those idiots chose the wrong party to blindly attack. We turn and continue running toward the back of the dungeon. A party approaches us from the rear as we're leaving, but swerves away at the sight of Maria's ice sculptures. I turn to Maria mid-stride and point out the new party running away from us. This exam might be easier than we thought. Might be. Finally, about 20 minutes later, we found our first monster. A horned rabbit. With a single kick, I easily killed it. It's still cool to see a new monster species, though. They're about half a meter tall and look like oversized muscular rabbits. They have bright white fur, red eyes, sharp jagged teeth, and a single brown horn protruding from their foreheads. After the first one, I just ignored them moving forward. They're all between levels 5 and 15. There isn't much to worry about. Another 20 minutes go by, and the hunters have really spread out a lot. I can only see one team in front of us far off in the distance, and none behind. That ice attack must have skewed the path people are willing to take. As we continue, the party ahead of us starts becoming larger. No, wait, we're just getting closer. It seems they've stopped moving. We approach them cautiously but do not change our speed. At closer inspection, I can see it's a team of 4. They're all wearing matching silver armor with gold accents. Their undersuits are white and elegant. It's really nice gear. They seem to be examining a few sheets of paper while trading magic items around on the ground. A man with long blonde flowing hair and bright blue eyes steps out in front of the other 3 and yells to us. We do not wish to fight, but if we must, I shall destroy you. Out of curiosity, I use inspect and appraisal. LV. 275. Active items. Steel sword plus 300 strength. Enchanted armor set plus 600 defense. Dragon scale pendant plus 50% mental strength. Rodrigo's silver bracelet. Active skills. Combat magic. Barrier summoning. Swordsmanship. I grin. Now here's a real opponent. Maria. I want this one. She steps back. I run toward the man, igniting flames around my sword and preparing an attack. He nods slowly, then draws his own sword. Fine. He begins glowing white as I swing my burning blade toward his neck. The swordsman lifts his own blade and covers it in a soft white aura. I bring my sword down and he counters with his own. My blade stops in mid-air, less than a meter from his blade. I grit my teeth and push forward with all my strength. It begins to move. Slowly but surely, I bring my blade closer and closer to his. Sweat rolls down my forehead as I let out a yell activating Berserker. Clink. My sword touches his and we're both blown backward by the built-up force from our attacks. The grassland around us is destroyed and a dust cloud forms from all the dirt thrown in the air. As it slowly settles, we both stand 10 m apart, pointing our blades at one another. He speaks. Again, I do not wish to fight. You are a strong adversary. I believe it would be a waste to drain our strength now. I grin at him and don't move a muscle for a few seconds. Then nod and put out my flames while pointing my sword at the floor. I'm Jay, by the way. You're probably right, it would be a waste to fight now. He points his sword to the ground too. I'm George Arden III. A pleasure to spar. It seems our mutual test of strength is over. We back away from each other slowly. With that, we give each other a formal head nod and I motion for Maria to follow me. He turns to his team and they all continue looking at the sheets of paper from earlier. Maria and I head off past them just like that. What an interesting guy. We continue forward, and the group of armored men fades into the distance behind us. I can't see any other teams in any direction. Feels like we're all alone in the dungeon now. After another 30 minutes of running, we still make no contact with the other teams. In total, we've had about 5 horned rabbit encounters. I'm starting to get out of breath. I've been training hard recently. But no matter how you put it, running for over an hour gets tiring. I turn to Maria. She's breathing heavily as well. Hey, want to slow down and walk? Maria turns to me. Let's make it through the first floor. Then we can take a breather. I nod resentfully. She has a good point, though. Sounds good. We continue chugging along at a solid pace. 10 minutes later, we make it to the first boss room. A floating gray portal stands alone in the middle of an open field. Well, it was a bit closer than I thought it would be. Maria laughs and we jump through together. The boss room has a dirt floor with no plant life. It's dark and there are sloped walls creating a cave-like environment. It feels like we're underground in some kind of burrow. Red eyes appear from the back of the room and a massive horned rabbit hops out. It looks very similar to the normal mobs, just huge. It gets up on its two hind legs and shows us its teeth standing almost 1.5 m tall. I use inspect, then smile. LV. 37. We walk over to it slowly. The monster gets on all fours and starts running at us while growling. Shing. I cut it in two like butter. Maria and I look at each other. Then she speaks up. 1 floor down, 9 to go. I nod. Yup. The rabbit disintegrates and white transport magic teleports us to the next dungeon a few minutes later. New guys are here. Get M. As we're spawned into a forest-like environment. There are thick trees in all directions and fairly rocky soil. I see 2 men and a woman less than 5 m away with their weapons fully drawn. There's a massive dark-skinned man with a silver shield and long thick sword lunging at me. A slim dark-haired fair-skinned woman wielding daggers runs at Maria. A short red-haired man stands behind them, both glowing bright yellow. The tank lets out a yell as he shoves his sword at my chest. I instantly react by erupting into flames and creating a layer of body-hardening crystals over the front side of my body. Clang. His sword smashes into the hard crystal armor and his eyes open wide in disbelief. Maria gasps as she sees my defense out of the corner of her eye while instinctively putting up her own shield of ice to block the woman's ambush of daggers. I face the man standing in front of me. He stands over 205 centimeters tall, wearing makeshift leather armor and deep scars on his face. I use inspect and appraisal. LV. 258. Active items. Heavy iron longsword plus 200 strength. Heavy iron shield plus 250 defense. Enchanted leather armor set plus 200 defense. Rodrigo's silver bracelet. Active skills. Extreme strength. Buffs.
May 35 speed và Arili.
I smile and raise my sword, pointing it at the large man's head. You call that an ambush? He grunts and stares me down while beginning to glow orange. A new buff appears in his appraisal stats. Plus 50% strength. I grin. Interesting. The team member behind him must have a speed and agility party-wide buff skill, while he has his own strength buff skill. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to be enough. I ignite into flames and look the man straight in the eyes. I activate Berserker and Intimidation. Attack them en dash. He stops yelling mid-sentence and freezes with fear. My vision tunnels and I charge forward. Shing. Without hesitation, I slice him in two, then stab the short red-haired buff caster through the chest in the same attack. Instantly, they both dematerialize into a flash of white light. So that's how the bracelets really work. Good to know. I turn to see Maria facing off against the dagger-wielding woman. Her eyes open wide as she sees her teammates easily obliterated. Maria places her hand on the ground and releases a wave of ice. The woman turns to run as the frost creeps up her ankles. She lets out a scream and drops her daggers before turning into a glistening white statue. Maria walks over to her and slashes the ice into a million little pieces. The white light appears again, indicating she's been sent back to her party members. I think to myself for a moment, if I really killed them, I'd be able to absorb their skills. So it looks like I won't be getting to farm skills that easily today. Maria speaks up. Hey look, that woman left her weapons. She bends down and picks up the 2 black daggers off the ground. I use appraisal. Enchanted dagger set plus 250 strength plus 250 agility. I nod. Nice. I guess they're yours now. Looks like you have to be holding your items to be transported with them. Maria smiles and places the daggers into her item box, then points her sword in the air toward the back of this new dungeon. Let's go. I hope we get to fight some stronger opponents soon. Monsters or humans, I don't care. She starts walking forward. I nod and follow. I'm sure the higher we climb, the more challenging this test will become. Chapter 80. Test 1. Time remaining, 46 hours. As we walk further into this new forest dungeon, the trees get thicker and the soil becomes rockier. I can still see the sky overhead, but it's a huge change of pace from the meadow-like dungeon we just departed from. Maria and I continue jogging at a steady pace through the forest. About 20 minutes into our trek, we hear movement in front of us deep behind a patch of thick green leaves. I use Inspect and Enemy Detection. 30 LV. 44 LV. 51. Moments later, 2 large hobgoblins come running into our vision with their swords pointing at us. They stand over 2 tall, have light green skin, hold long silver swords, and wear rags for clothing. Maria and I sprint forward and slice them both in half without activating an ounce of magic. We continue running forward like nothing happened. After another hour and a half and 4 more hobgoblin encounters, we finally make it to the boss room portal. I turn to Maria. Seems like the teams are getting pretty spread out. We only saw one in this dungeon. And it was at the very beginning. She nods. Yeah. Maybe that camping team thinned the crowd in front of us, and we're just outpacing the crowd behind for now. True, you're probably right. You ready? Ready. We jump through the floating gray portal and enter the floor 2 boss room. The ground is hard, and the light is dim. It feels exactly like the previous boss room, just with walls completely made of stone. Footsteps begin to sound as a 3.5 tall mutated hobgoblin appears. I use Inspect. LV. 68. Before it can even let out a roar, Maria runs forward and cuts its head clean off. She turns back to me. 2 down, 8 to go. I nod slowly, then let out a small laugh. A few moments later, the corpse disappears, and the white light appears, transporting us into a new dungeon. I open my eyes to see a unique sight. It's a wasteland. The ground feels soft and wet, but still easy to walk on. There's very minimal plant life here, and the soil is an off-putting reddish-purple color. The entire landscape is full of mildly sloping hills with no trees in sight. As I look up, the sky is gray with a hint of blue. This dungeon is depressing. Let's walk this one. I think conserving energy would be the best thing to do right now. Maria nods and we walk forward into the dungeon with caution. The moment we do, I hear a rumbling in the distance. I use Enemy Detection and Inspect. Instantly, I sense over 20 monsters running our way between level 70 and 100. Here they come, Maria replies. Already? We both grip our swords tight and get ready for whatever beasts are about to show their faces. The rumbling gets closer. It sounds more like hundreds of footsteps now. I can hear clicking, scurrying, squealing, and scraping sounds coming closer and closer. Then on top of a small hill in front of us, a wave of giant rats appear. My stomach drops. I'm not scared of them because I think they're dangerous. These things just look disgusting. Over 20 fat brown rats crawl over the top of a dirt hill and charge toward us. I can smell rotting flesh from here. They have beady red eyes, long pink noses, crooked white teeth, matted brown hair, and scar-covered fleshy tails. They're over 2 long. I look at Maria. We both gulp and run at the wave of rodents. I ignite into a ball of flames and Maria begins to create a barrier of ice fragments all around her. I swerve off to the right and she takes the left. Together, we release a wave of magic up the hill of rats and obliterate them all in the blink of an eye. We continue our charge all the way up the hill, not stopping until every last one of them is frozen solid or burned to a crisp. Once we make it to the top, I activate Enemy Detection again and widen my search distance. There's thousands of them everywhere. I can sense groups of rats piling together across the entire dungeon. Doing so used up a bit of MP, but I'll manage. It let me pinpoint a few other teams as well. It looks like there are 7 other parties in here with us. Their numbers vary, but none are too close by. I turn my head to a far corner of the dungeon as I sense an odd presence. It's kind of strong, but is definitely not a hunter. I point in its direction. Let's make a quick detour. I'm curious about something. I might pay off. Maria looks up at me. Okay, fine with me. We turn and begin to trek toward the odd presence. After traveling about 1 kilometer off track, we finally near our destination. There were 3 more waves of rats along the way, all increasing in size. Our last ambush consisted of over 50 rats. They're easy to kill but pretty hard on the eyes. I point to a large dirt hill in the distance. That's it. We're here. The moment I open my mouth, the beast I was looking for appears. I use Inspect. LV. 143. Nothing special, but we're getting somewhere. On top of the hill stands a massive mutant rat. It's easily 4 m long and covered in scars with dark black matted hair. There seems to be a glowing white light behind it as well. It's making the rat stand out in this gloomy environment. I grin and run at the monster. It screeches and a wave of rats appears behind it. There are easily 100 of them. I burst into a ball of fire and begin massacring the wave. Maria follows close behind and begins freezing dozens of them at a time as well. Every time I land a hit with my sword, I use Plunderer to restore my MP. Moments later, we both make it to the top of the hill, leaving trails of fire and ice behind us. Shing. In perfect synchronicity, Maria and I cut the mutant rat into pieces. We stand on top of the hill admiring our handiwork. Although, after a while, I have to cover my mouth and nose as the burning rat corpses disappear one by one. The white light from earlier doesn't fade as the mutant disappears. It seems like there was something on top of this hill before we got here. It was just hidden by the wave of monsters. Finally, the burning flesh turns into piles of mana crystals and reveals a glowing white box on the ground. We look at it, then at each other, then back at the box. I walk over and examine it. It's about 1 meter long, 1/2 meter tall, and 1/2 meter wide. It's completely white and is humming like a mana shield. There are no handles or indicators of how to open it. What could this be? I reach my sword out toward it and tap the blade against the top of the box. Click. The lid flies open and reveals a piece of paper, 2 potions, a silver ring, a bag of dried fruit, for large bottles of water, and another bag of dried meats. I grab the note and read it. It looks like you have found a gift box. Luck is on your side. These items may help you on your journey. Use them wisely to stay alive. Rodrigo. I turn the note over for Maria to read. Then I use appraisal on the potions and ring in the box. Active items. D-Class MP Potion. D-Class HP Potion. Enchanted Silver Ring plus 150 speed. Interesting. Let's split this up evenly. You can have the ring, I think you need it more than me. Next rare item drop is mine though. Got it. She smiles. Sure thing. I toss Maria the ring, and we take half the food and water each. Maria drinks an MP potion on the spot, and I place the HP potion in my item box. Apparently, Maria has already used up a full MP bar. I guess we have used a lot of magic in this dungeon so far. I look around and see over 100 mana crystals all over the hill. It'd be a waste not to pick these up right. Maria laughs. I guess SJ. Stop right there. Clang. 2 silver daggers appear out of nowhere, and I instinctively raise my sword to block them as I hear a deep voice yell at me. The daggers scrape against my blade, overpowering me and pushing me to the floor. I scan the area with enemy detection, inspect, and appraisal to try and figure out what hit me. Nothing registers at first. Then a man appears 10 m in front of me, seemingly out of thin air. The stats finally show. 10 m. LV. 279. Active items. Steel dagger set plus 300 strength. Enchanted steel armor set plus 400 defense. Enchanted leather boots plus 200 speed. Griffin's talon plus 40% mental strength. Rodrigo's silver bracelet. Active skills. Dagger mastery. Stealth. The man is well built with short dirty blonde hair and light skin. He has brown eyes and wears a few pieces of medium-weight armor. He looks a bit too bulky to be using daggers, but I guess that's his thing. Standing around 180 centimeters tall, he's about my height. Just a lot more muscular. He yells out, "Hand over everything from that box and I'll spare your lives." I step forward. "Yeah, right. Bring it on." He smirks and takes a slow step backward. "Don't say I didn't warn you." I grip my blade and ignite it with flames. He takes another slow step back, then disappears. I scan the area around me with enemy detection, but his presence is gone. While turning around in circles, I begin to ignite my full body in flames. Is this some kind of teleportation? Skrghh. Shing. I feel a sharp dagger pierce my right side. The man appears from nowhere and lands his attack this time around. I begin to swing my blade back at him, but he disappears in front of my eyes. My sword slices through the air. I cough up a bit of blood and regenerate my wound while letting my flames burn even brighter. He appears 10 in front of me with that same smirk across his face. I'll say it again. Give me everything you got from that box and I'll spare your lives. Maria yells to me while glowing blue and running at us. Jay! You dash. Let me handle this, Maria. This guy is starting to piss me off. She stops mid-stride and nods, then steps back. Oomph. Okay. I'm here if you need me. I turn back to the dagger-wielding man. He takes a step back, then another, then poof. He's gone again. I scan the area, but like before, there's no sign of him. It's silent. The only noise I can hear is the crackle of my own flames. Shing. A silver dagger appears out of nowhere and pierces my left thigh. The man becomes visible and I swing my flaming sword again, not hesitating from the pain this time. Woshh shik. The man disappears as my blade comes down. But I hit something. Arg. How? The man reappears 10 away with a small gash on his right arm. It's bleeding onto the ground and he's glaring at me. My eyes open wide. Then I remember, I've seen this before. Back a long time ago when I trained with Abby in that bat dungeon. The boss could do the same thing. This is a stealth skill. I took a glimpse his status, but it didn't click with me at first. He's not teleporting, he's just disappearing from my vision. I grin, then activate Berserker. My senses heighten and my strength increases. I lock eyes with my prey. I'm filled with confidence now that I understand what's going on. He smirks and takes a step back into nothingness. I sprint forward and scan my surroundings with a new objective in mind. It's faint, but I can hear the pitter-patter of light footsteps coming at me on the left side. I instinctively predict his movements using the sound of his feet and slight movements in the wet dirt to launch an attack of my own. Shingig. It's a direct hit. The man appears visible again as I make contact with my flaming sword. It cracks right through his chest plate, landing a devastating blow to his midsection. Blood flies and he yells out in pain while falling backward. I stand over him with my sword drawn at his neck, then activate Intimidation. A wave of energy hits him and he freezes with fear. I want everything you've got. Looks like the tables have turned. The man doesn't respond at all. He just stares forward with dilated pupils. Fine. I guess we'll do this the hard way. Just like you wanted. I bring my sword down and cut the item box from his waist, then pierce my sword through his chest, plundering MP as his body disintegrates and transports back to the respawn point. I pick up the pouch and turn to Maria with a smile while looking inside. There are 4 HP potions and 2 MP, nothing else. What do you want? She nods slowly. As much MP as I can get. I throw her 1 HP and 2 MP potions. I take 3 HP for myself. There, that's fair. I drink one of the HP potions, then throw the other 2 into my item box. I have 8 in total now. I couldn't care less about the MP potions. I get mana for free by killing monsters. Maria can have them all. She looks at me curiously for a moment but accepts the potions without a fuss. We collect the mana crystals covering the hill, then start walking back the way we came. Our next stop is the boss room.